now the next case.
All parties in a matter of Heyer versus DeVito. Step forward.
Danielle Heyer is suing her ex-fiancé, Frank DeVito IV, for the return of bail money and for pawning her engagement ring.
Miss Heyer, when did you start to date Mr. DeVito?
In the spring of 08.
Month.
I would say March.
And when was the last time you were out on a date with him?
Probably in July of 08.
And you haven't had anything to do with him since?
I haven't had anything to do with him since the fall of this year.
Month?
November.
What happened between July of 08 and November of 09?
We started dating in the early spring, and our relationship was going well, and then in the fall of 2008, he was sent back to jail.
What I want to know is when this relationship was over.
March.
So you and Mr. DeVito were in a relationship?
Yes.
Not living together?
No, not in the beginning.
From March of 08 until March of 09. 1 year. Now, claim he owes you some money.
Yes.
One is for bail. What were you arrested for, sir?
Parole violation.
What was the nature of the underlying crime?
Robbery in the first degree.
How many years did you serve?
0. It was all dropped.
Were you in prison at all?
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when?
2003 to 2008.
Where?
Lino Lakes, Minnesota, and Rush City.
Is that for the robbery?
No, ma'am.
For what?
Past crime.
Last time I heard that was not a violation of the penal law, past crime, so we won't go into anything else.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What? Why are you looking at me with that goofy look on your face?
Because she took $1,000 a day, she hit me with the frying pan, and I moved out with my mom. She took $1,000 out of my wallet.
Where did you get $1,000 from?
From the casino. I like to gamble.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Danielle Heyer says ex-fiancé Frank DeVito IV owes for bail money and for pawning her engagement ring.
Now, you were rearrested on a robbery charge?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
September 27th, I believe it was. 27th or 28th, dealing with my children's mother.
Did Miss Heyer post any part of your bail?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
$2,500. My mother posted the other part.
Did you pay your mother back?
No, she gave it to me as a gift, ma'am.
Your mother did?
Yes, ma'am.
What does your mother do for a living?
She runs a bowling alley. She's a general manager of 3 bowling centers.
She's been doing that for a long time?
No, ma'am.
How long?
8 years.
That's a pretty long time.
Oh, she's bored. My father died in the military, so we were well taking care of kids.
How did it come about that Miss Heyer posted the $2,500 bail that you were short?
Her and my mom, and talking back and forth, she offered to put up that part, and my mom decided she'd put up the other part.
Did you ever contact Miss Heyer from prison?
Quite a few times.
Did you discuss the bail with her?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
She had asked, would I pay her back? And I, at that time we were going to be together, so the money would be going into both of our accounts.
Do you want to repeat that slowly to me? She asked you if you were going to pay her back, and you said?
It would be both of our accounts because we were together. So basically paying myself back.
Why would it be both of your accounts?
Because we were together at that time.
So what?
When I got out and put a job, I was putting checks into her account.
But you weren't in a job. You were in prison where you were making 10 cents an hour.
I was never in prison. I was in jail for 28 days.
Well, 28 days. For 28 days, you weren't earning any money.
At that time, I wasn't, but as soon as I got out, I got a job.
And did you pay her back?
I didn't think I had to.
Well, were you still together?
Yeah, at that time.
After you got out of jail, were you working?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work were you doing?
I was working at a place called Skechers. They do law enforcement uniforms.
And you were working there on the books or off the books?
On the books.
How much were you earning?
$9 an hour.
And how long did it take you at $9 an hour to pay her back $2,500?
Probably would have took me a long time, but I figured
It would have took you a very long time and taken you even longer.
But she wanted me out.
Only I got that joke. All right, so we have $2,500 that you owe her, Mr. DeVito.
It was a gift.
What else? You claim that he took money out of your bank without permission.
Yes.
All right. Did you have a joint bank account?
No.
So this was your individual account?
Yes.
Did he ever put money into that account?
No.
How did he get the PIN number to take money out? Is not an answer.
I had told him one day what it was. Because
Why?
When he had originally gotten out, he had told me that he needed a haircut and stuff to get cleaned up, and I had to go to work, so I said, here's the card, you can take $40 out. Here's the PIN number.
Is that what happened?
No.
No. How did you get the PIN number?
She voluntarily gave it to me
For what?
to take money out of it.
For what?
For spending?
Did you put money into the account?
Yes, ma'am.
That I believe. You were living together at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have your own bank account?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so the only bank account that you had was her bank account?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Some things I believe you say and some things I don't. This I happen to believe, Mr. DeVito. See how fair I am?
Yep.
Okay? It's my middle name. Justice and fair and kind. What else do you want from him?
I'd like my full $4,000.
You're not going to get it. Don't give anybody your PIN number. What else do you want? Want to get your bail?
I want my bail, yes, and
That's okay.
I believe that I deserve the money that was stolen from my banking card.
I don't believe it was stolen.
It was stolen on different dates, and I have all those dates and the times that I was at work.
Listen to me. I believe you gave him your PIN number.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Have you been cheated? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Miss Heyer, you're not getting money back from an account. When you were living together, he didn't have a bank account. You had a bank account. You gave him your PIN number. It's over now. You want the money back? I'm sorry. You're not going to get that money back. You're going to get your bail money back. Because he actually said to me, I told him we'd be together, I'd be putting money into the account too, and so I'll pay you back from that. But at $9 an hour, working, making uniforms, he hasn't paid back the $2,500, that's for sure. That he knows. The only other thing you want is money for an engagement ring that you claim you paid to take out of pawn when he pawned it.
Yes.
And in what month and year did you get it out of pawn shop?
I believe I got it out in early February. No, it was later. It was later in February that I got it out. I have the date on my bank statement when I recovered the ring. I was not aware of when it was originally pawned off because it was the band of my engagement ring that was pawned.
That he gave you?
Well, I financed the ring in my name because he has no credit, and so I pretty much bought my own engagement ring, and he said that he was going to make the monthly payments on it when he got his job. That never happened.
Were you still living together at the time?
Yes.
That you don't get back either. You have the ring?
No, I returned it.
Where is it? You returned it?
Yes.
He owes you $2,500.
It's still...
It's over. It's finished. What? Why are you looking at me with that goofy look on your face?
Because, she took $1,000 a day, she hit me with the frying pan, and I moved out with my mom. She took $1,000 out of my wallet.
That is a lie.
Just a second. Where did you get $1,000 from?
From the casino. I like to gamble.
Right here.
$2,500.
The matter of Dinger versus Green.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Dinger, this is your husband's ex-wife. They have 4 children.
Yes.
So I have some preliminary questions. Ms. Green, when were you divorced?
It was July of 2004.
And where were you divorced? In what state?
Idaho?
And you are currently remarried?
Correct.
When did you remarry?
December of 2008.
Is this your husband?
Yes, it is.
And where was he from?
He's from Riverton, Utah.
When you were divorced in July of 2004, what kind of visitation or custody arrangement was made by the court?
Basically, he took the kids on his days off from work, which worked out to 1 week it was a Friday through until Tuesday night, and then the next week it was just a Wednesday, Thursday.
And that situation extended until what month and year?
Until we did a modification in 2007.
To what?
To more of a standard every other weekend arrangement.
And who initiated that proceeding?
I did.
And what was the reason for initiating alternate weekends?
I found that the children being with him for 5 days in a row, their schoolwork was not performing. It was difficult for them to be gone from me for that long.
Did you have a trial?
No, it was agreed to between our attorneys.
You wouldn't happen to have copies of your proceeding?
I do not.
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
There is a copy of what was filed and also what was agreed to and
I would like to
stipulated.
see it. Would you stand up, Mr. Green? Mr. Green, in what month and year did you meet your wife?
July of 2008.
Where did you meet her?
I met her over in Boise on a 4th of July event.
And what kind of work do you do in Utah?
I work for Kennecott Utah Copper. I'm a maintenance planner.
Do you recall when your wife moved to modify the agreement so that she could relocate to Utah?
I believe that was in December of 08.
And what's the status of that case?
It's settled, yeah.
And what's the settlement?
That we were allowed to move my wife and the kids to Utah.
How often does Mr. Dinger see his children now?
We alternate Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yes.
He has 2 weeks in June, roughly, and 2 weeks in August, according to their school schedules. And we do also alternate spring break.
So other than holidays, he doesn't see the children regularly as he had done between July of 2004 and December of 2008. That would be a fair statement.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you filed this petition and made certain allegations against both Miss Dinger and your former husband. And at the end of this case, you agreed to alternate weekend visitation.
Yes.
Now, when were you married to Mr. Dinger?
November 30th, 2004.
Now we have some background. And you have 2 children together and you have 4 children of your own?
Yes, I do.
It is your claim that Miss Green filed false charges against you.
Absolutely.
In an attempt to get a leg up. You don't say that. That's what I say. In an attempt to get a leg up in her lawsuit against her former husband to allow her to move from Idaho to Utah to be with her husband.
Yes.
The critical question for me is, when did she file the complaint against you?
She filed the complaint on the 13th of November in 08, following an incident between me and my husband. We had agreed to separate due to some issues that we were having.
She claims that there was an act of domestic violence.
There was not.
Did you call the police?
No.
Have you ever called the police to report a case of domestic violence against your husband?
Yes, I did.
When?
February 3rd, 2007.
And what was the result of that case?
It was dismissed.
At your request?
Yes.
You had to think about that?
Well, we met with the prosecuting attorney and we discussed it and she agreed to dismiss it.
Because that's what you wanted.
Absolutely.
Got it. I'd like to see the complaint she filed in November of 2008, and that's the one you're complaining about, is that right?
Yes.
And you were married December of 08.
Yes.
All comes clear. Did your wife ever discuss with you moving to Idaho?
No, we never discussed moving to Idaho just because of my work. I work in the mining industry.
So if you were going to marry, the expectation was that she was going to move from Idaho to Utah.
Yes.
But you couldn't because she would have to leave her children behind.
Right. We knew we'd have to.
Right?
Yes.
Unless you got a court to agree to relocation.
Right.
You got where I'm going, Mr. Green? Mm-hmm. Good. Now you can sit. I'd like to see what she filed against you.
I've got the complaint as well that I filed with the court.
I'd like to see it. You would agree with me that your timing was serendipitous, madam. You know what that means? That means that it was a month before your marriage to someone who lived out of state that you decided to file a protective order against either your husband or his wife.
That's actually incorrect. I had actually filed protection orders before. There is a history of abuse in this situation.
When was the first time that you filed a protective order against Mrs. Dinger?
The first time was June 1st of 07.
It was not awarded against me.
Well, just a second. Is that when you filed your first protective order against Mrs. Dinger?
Well, it's listed on here against the both of them.
I'd like to see it. And that was in June?
June of 07. The abuse didn't start when I got married. The abuse has been ongoing over the past several years.
You'll notice she filed application.
Shh. Well, this says the respondent is Donald Dinger. Your allegations with regard to any abuse were with regard to him, and the action was solely against him. And after you filed that, you agreed to have your children visit with their father every other weekend.
Correct.
And according to your statement to me earlier, you said you did that because the children didn't want to be away from you for 5 days straight. It interrupted their schooling. That's what you told me.
Correct.
Okay, now you can return this.
Can I say something on that particular issue?
No.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've also got a police report from November 14th of 2008 when Tammy duct taped my daughter's head.
I did. I placed a piece of duct tape over her mouth.
Why?
Tamby Dinger says her husband's ex-wife, Tiana Green, falsely accused her of abusing her child. Tiana claims Tamby duct taped her daughter's mouth. She is countersuing for legal fees and punitive damages.
Okay, Ms. Dinger, was there a call from Child Protective Services by a school counselor?
Yes.
Did you speak to the school counselor or the child protective worker?
I spoke to police and the child protective worker.
And what happened as a result of that?
The case was dismissed.
I've got a copy of the report that was made
I'd like to see it.
Health and Welfare. That was called in by the school counselor, not myself.
Oh, well, my dear Miss Dinger, this says that the school official saw fingernail marks on the child's face. That's what it says.
Yes, I've seen it.
It was called in by the school. It wasn't called, it was observed by someone at the school.
It's not the first time the child has made similar allegations. At one point in our home, she was sucking on her arm to give herself a hickey, which would turn out to look like a bruise, and informed her younger sister at the time, I'm going to tell the school counselor tomorrow that Tamby did this to me. We proceeded to the school the next day, which was a different counselor than this, to explain.
Okay, so it's a complicated issue.
Absolutely.
If what you're telling me is that the child made up a story.
Absolutely.
And the child made up, according to you, this story, so that the fingernail marks on the child's cheek were as a result of her hurting herself in some way. But that's the story that she told the school guidance counselor.
Yes.
Then the school guidance counselor has an obligation to call Child Protective Services.
Absolutely.
And as the child's mother, even though I think that there was an ulterior motive on her part, she has an obligation to protect her children. Do you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Either she's going to say, my child is a liar, which is possible because they do lie, or I have to go along and believe her, especially since I know that there has been some domestic violence in that house. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Anyway, that's your lawsuit. Your lawsuit is that she had no right to file these charges against you.
In similar allegations that have arisen against her household, she has told police that her child is a liar.
It may be, but she has an obligation, as does the school, Ms. Dinger, to call in a report, and she has an obligation to seek a protective order. She does, even though the timing couldn't have been more perfect for her. Do you understand?
I do. Why is she? I have continuous emails where she's asking us to take the children following each incident that she reports. She needs to travel, so she wants us to take the children for her. She dismissed the protection order herself. The temporary one was awarded, as is done. She dismissed it.
And she dismissed it, and then she decided to pursue her case in the family court to relocate.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That's
15 days after dismissing it, asked us to take the children again.
Show me.
I have numerous emails here.
No. I would like to see, after she was advised by the school counselor that there were finger marks on the child's face, and after she filed for the protective order, I would like to see an email where she asks you to take care of the children.
Wednesday, the 7th of January, 2009.
Can I see it, please? Would you tell me what these emails are about?
We have gone solely to email communications, so I would have to see them to see.
Would you show this to Ms. Green?
Email communication that was supposed to be between their father and I.
Which are often addressed to me.
I just want you to explain that to me.
She's in a meeting. Looks like we were just, I mean, the fact is that the visitation had to occur. I couldn't get around that at that point. So it looks like here, I would like to keep this weekend the same. I'm flying to Salt Lake City. Once we had agreed that he would allow me to move with the children to Salt Lake, he quit taking them on his weekends. And so that's what this was.
Can I have that back, please?
And then I've also got a police report from November 14th of 2008 when Tammy duct taped my daughter's head.
It's not November 4th, 2008. She's incorrect.
I'm sorry, January 7th of 2008.
And she's also stating it incorrectly.
Well, tell me what you did.
First of all, it was...
No, just tell me what you did.
I did. I placed a piece of duct tape over her mouth, about a 3-inch.
Why?
3.5 hours of violence. She woke up in the morning screaming and yelling, violently acting out towards her 3 younger siblings.
How old is she?
At the time, in 2008, she would have been 10. She has a history of issues. I called her father when she was out of control prior to the duct tape.
And where was he?
He was at work.
Well, duct taping her mouth closed is inappropriate, Miss Dinger.
Absolutely. It just didn't happen quite that way.
I don't care how it happened.
I called him. He called her. Her response to him was, Donald, when the children are on your time, they are on your responsibility. You call the doctor and get the medicine yourself. She was 1.3 miles from my home, had the medication, and chose not to aid me.
What does that have to do with duct taping the child's mouth closed?
After 3.5 hours, the child, she keeps coming out of her room. I'm putting in her room to try and separate her. She has hit me.
Listen to me. There are lots of ways, Miss Dinger, to handle that kind of situation.
It wasn't handling it. It was I lost control.
No. Well, before you lose control, you take her, put her in the car, and take her home.
I had 7 other children.
That's not the 10-year-old's problem. That's your problem. If you folks have too many children, that's your problem. And if you can only take care of one child, only have one. And if you can't take care of one hysterical child, then you shouldn't have 6. What I'm telling you is your response in duct taping her mouth is inappropriate. And if you did it, she has a right to complain about it. And if the child complains to a school counselor that you put your hand over her mouth and your fingernails went into her face, which the counselor saw, I'm not saying how she got them, but that's what the child says, then her mother has a right to file a petition to keep you away from her children. At the same time, she can file in the family court to modify the order of custody or visitation. All I'm saying to you is, you gave her the ammunition. She chose to use it at an opportune time for her. But that doesn't mean you have a lawsuit. Because if you did, in fact, do what you just acknowledged to me that you did, she had an absolute right to file a petition to keep you away from her kids.
The only reason she had the ability to even have that is because I corroborated it. I stood up.
Doesn't make any difference, Miss Dinger. You don't have a lawsuit if the allegation is true, even though serendipity was sleeping in her corner because it came at a perfect time when she wanted to relocate her children away from their father because she was getting married. All happened at a very good time for her. That doesn't mean you have a lawsuit. Now, you have a counterclaim that I'm prepared to hear for about 5 minutes.
Okay. I also have a recording just showing the volatility that she can.
I don't need it. I heard it. I ruled on her case.
Okay.
Now I'm ready to hear what you think you have a lawsuit about.
Well, I've got attorney's fees that specifically detail out my attorney's work on this protection order case.
Well, my friend, you shouldn't have dismissed it. If you dismissed it, there had to be a reason.
I followed my attorney's advice.
Then go ask the attorney for your money. Did you follow your attorney's advice when you filed it against her?
Actually, I did that on my own.
Did you follow? Hey, don't play with me. Did you follow your attorney's advice when you filed it against her?
Yes.
Of course. Then you dismissed it on his advice. Yes. Then you refiled a petition to amend the order of custody to allow you to relocate, following his advice. Pay for your own lawyer.
Okay. I've also got proof to the abuse that's happening up to Easter this year.
Listen to me.
No abuse.
Don't bring it to me. Bring it to family court.
I intend to.
That's not my issue.
Okay.
That's family court's issue. Were it not that Miss Dinger gave you the ammunition to file against her, I would have granted her application.
11 months prior,
she filed complaints against you, but did not seek an order of protection specifically against you, only against him. You're looking at me with this look of incredulity. A mother does not duct tape the mouth closed of a 10-year-old. That's stupid. And I don't care whether it happened 11 days or 11 months before. I'm saying you gave her the ammunition to file the case that she did. The fact that she did it because it was part of a scheme to allow her to move to Utah just was perfect timing on her part. But she didn't make up the allegations. They were true.
She did, Your
They
Honor,
were
lie
true.
under oath.
They were true. Her child complained to the guidance counselor that the marks on her face were made by you with putting your hand over her face, and the complaint that you duct taped her mouth closed because her mother refused to bring her over the medication and you lost it is not an excuse.
That's not why I did it.
I don't care why you did it. And if you still think that it was appropriate,
I do not.
well, fine. Then you got to understand this. You gave her the ammunition. Do you get that? Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now it's case number 18 on the calendar in the matter of Sparks versus Esky.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Miss Esky, what do you do for a living?
I'm a waitress.
Who do you work for?
The Greek Corner on Orange Avenue in Orlando, Florida.
How long have you worked there?
I've been there now for 4 months.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was working at a club in Orlando.
What kind of club?
A nightclub.
Doing what?
Serving.
How long were you there?
I was there on and off for about 8 months.
What does that mean, on and off?
I didn't always work there full time. I had taken a couple breaks.
How do you get to work?
Now I take the bus because I don't have
How
a
did you
vehicle
get to work
anymore.
then when you were working at the club?
I used to have a Toyota Avalon.
So you had a car? Did you have car payments?
Yes.
Did you have insurance?
Yes.
You had rent?
Yes.
And you were still able to work part-time?
Yes.
On and off? You have any other source of income?
No.
Mr. Sparks, you answered an ad on Craigslist and rented a room from the defendant, claims she assaulted you, and in addition, she had you falsely arrested. This happened almost a year ago. You want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
Where have you been the last year?
Well, I was arrested and I had a charge against me, and I was waiting to that fizzle out before I made any commitments to filing a lawsuit.
You had a charge against you emanating from Miss Esky's complaint?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that resolved?
It was resolved December the 8th, 2009.
Can I see the complaint that she filed against you, just so that I have the information, and then you can start from the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
While you're looking for it, you want to tell me when you answered this ad on Craigslist?
I actually answered the Craigslist ad in the 1st of September.
Where were you working in Orlando at the time?
I work as a subcontractor painter. I've been working for the same company for going on 9 years.
Okay. I'll just take, if you have a copy of the police report.
I do have a copy of a police report. That was the night in question that I was attacked. The police came to the hospital when I was admitted.
Let's go back for a second.
Okay.
All right, so you took the room eventually, and when did you move in?
September the 16th, I believe it was, Your Honor.
Okay.
I was very impressed with the place.
Tell me about the assault.
On September the 27th, I was taking a nap. I'm a football guy, so Sundays I dedicate my life to watching football on Sundays. So I was in my room watching television, watching football, and at some point I dozed off and I fell asleep. Around 2:30 that afternoon, Renee come into my room and grabbed me by my shoulder and started cursing me, calling me names and asking me what happened to her money. You stole my money, you stole my money. She then proceeded to go to my closet, pull out a bunch of clothes, start ransacking my room, picked up a belt, which I had a buckle on it, and she started beating me with the buckle, beating me hard with the buckle. Her witness was there. I'm not really sure what role he was playing in. It was happening so fast. I got around him and I went outside. Renee and her witness came outside a couple of minutes later. I saw them drive off the property and I went to a friend's house. 4, 5, 6 hours later, I came back to the apartment. No one was there. Went to my room, and the reason I went back to the apartment is because I had paid my rent. I had really nowhere else to go. I had put all my money into this. I come back, like I said, Sunday evening. No one was there. I got up Monday morning. I had a huge bruise on my arm. I had to work. I don't never miss a day of work, ever. Went to work with Bobby. Came home that evening. No one was there. About 8:30, Renee comes in. I'm in my room. I pretty much just stayed in my room the whole time I was there, either there or out on the balcony overlooking the swimming pool. It was kind of comfort zone for me. But at this point, I was in my room, and Renee knocked on the door several times. I told her I did not want to speak with her. She persisted on knocking on my door. She wanted to resolve it. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and I walked outside on the balcony and spoke with Renee and her witness as well. About 5 minutes as we were in the conversation discussing...
Tell me about the conversation.
The conversation was basically like she was sorry. She was apologetic. She didn't think that I took any money from her. She had went out. She was drinking. I blew it off. I didn't know really how to react. I was really shocked on how someone could do something like that.
Just the facts.
Okay.
Just the facts.
Well, we had the conversation. The conversation lasted no more than about 4 or 5 minutes. Someone rang the doorbell. Renee and her witness got up, went to the door. I'm still out on the balcony. A gentleman walks in the apartment with these gloves on, sort of like a motorcycle glove type. I can only see him through the sliding glass door. They three proceed to her room, and they don't come out of her bedroom for 3, 4, or 5 minutes. I started getting an eerie feeling. I felt really weird. I had a terrible feeling about the whole situation, so I said, okay, I'm going to make my way to my bedroom and just leave it at that and stay there. I just had a bad feeling about it.
I got the bad feeling.
So about 5 or 10 minutes later, there was a banging on my door. I heard her witness call my name. I then said, I don't want to talk. I don't understand what's going on. Within seconds, the gentleman with the motorcycle gloves busts into my room, has me cornered, takes 3 swings at me. He misses. I don't know how he missed. Call me Rocky Balboa. But I dodged him, and I got around him. Her witness was standing behind him. I got past him. I went into the foyer. As soon as I got into the foyer, Renee was standing there, and she threw a beer bottle. It shattered on the corner of the baseboard right there, striking me in the foot. I must have maybe stepped on glass on my way out, called 911, had a neighbor call 911.
You have that report as well?
I have the 911 entries.
I'd like to see it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He went to his closet and got a metal pipe out of the closet. He goes, I don't hit women, but this pipe does. And he was swinging it like this into his hand. I ran to my room, locked the door.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Sparks says ex-roommate Renee Eske assaulted him during an argument and then had him falsely arrested. Renee claims Jason attacked her with a metal pipe.
Now, when did you first, Miss Eske, tell Mr. Sparks that you didn't want him to smoke in the house?
It was about the 3rd day. I had gone to talk to him, and the room smelled like cigarette smoke.
Okay, so he came in on September 16th, and by the 19th, you realized he was smoking in the house, and you went in to have a discussion with him about smoking.
He tried to deny it.
Just a second.
Okay. Sorry, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me what you said to him and what he said to you about the smoking.
I told him that it was a non-smoking house, and we had already discussed that, and if you wanted to smoke, you can go out on the balcony. So I didn't see any reason to be smoking in the room.
And
he tried to say that he wasn't smoking. The next day, I pulled up in my car, and he was actually in the window blowing smoke out the window. And when he saw me, he ducked back into the window.
Okay, so what did you tell him then?
Well, when I knocked on his door, he was immediately very aggressive, was like, leave me the F alone, and I paid my money and I can do whatever I want here. And I said, well, no, that's not true. This is my place and I'm renting a room and it's a non-smoking house. I mean, if you don't like it, then after your time is up, you can find somewhere else to live. Well, the next day I went to work, and I came home, and he had casually asked me, how was my day at work? And I had said it was a rough day and my feet hurt. Well, he made a motion to rub my feet. He actually touched my foot and was like, I could rub them. I gave him a look, and I was like, okay, there is nothing like that going to go on here. This is
nonsense.
She didn't interrupt you. Don't interrupt her.
Yes, ma'am.
Roommate situation. And I just figured, since there was no other advance, and he shook his head yes, and we had an understanding. But it was after that, the next morning, I had $150 missing from my wallet. And, he said right off the bat, he didn't take the money. I asked him because there was nobody else there. And he was like, oh, well, maybe you stopped somewhere. Maybe when you went to 7-Eleven, you dropped the money. Well, I've been going to that 7-Eleven for 10 years. Well, point was they reviewed the tapes. I didn't drop any money there.
I don't care.
So he keeps saying, he didn't take the money, he didn't take the money. Well, the next day, my witness came over, and we had a couple drinks, whatever, hanging out. And he had told me that, his wallet and keys were up in the kitchen, that he had $200 missing out of his wallet. So we decided to both talk to Jason and ask him about the money.
I don't understand something. Your witness comes over for what?
Because we're friends.
So what did he come over for?
Just to hang out.
Okay. And you were having a drink. Mm-hmm. What was his wallet doing out of his pants?
I don't know.
I have lots of friends that come over to my house. Their wallets are not... Hey, Their wallets are not out of their pants. The only one who takes their wallet out in my house and puts it on a table is my husband. So I don't believe your witness that he had his wallet out and $200 was missing unless he sleeps over and his wallet was somewhere in the house. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Because it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. We understand each other?
Your Honor, that's exactly what had happened.
Well, that's not what she said.
Well, she forgot.
That's not what she said.
I hadn't gotten to that part. He did stay on the couch because
Just a second. That's not what you said, sir.
That's exactly what happened, is that I stayed the night because she was fearing for her life from what he had accosted her with, from some of the statements that he had made that were not true.
Stand up, sir. Right now, nobody, what's your last name?
Cropper.
Mr. Cropper, up until this point, he hasn't said anything to her. They haven't had any altercation at all. And the baloney about touching her feet is just that because it's not in her answer. The only thing that she said to him was, my money is missing, and he said, I didn't take it. That was it.
Okay, so, Your Honor, after that had happened, he offered for her to go into his room and look and see if the money was there. He also had his wallet on the bed while he was giving her the opportunity to look at everything. She picked up the wallet to go look at that. That's when he grabbed her finger and twisted it back at that time. She called me into the room. And
you didn't see that.
Yes,
you did.
Just a minute. You just said she called you back into the room. How could you have seen what he did to her finger if you were outside the room?
She called me into the room.
You just said...
Because I was standing at the doorway.
You just said to me, sir, it's never going to get better, Mr. Cropper.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Are you looking at me and telling me you saw him twist her finger? Is that what you're telling me? Be very careful what you're telling me, Mr. Cropper. Are you telling me you saw him twist her finger?
Yes, I did. Because she was sitting on the bed looking through the wallet. When he grabbed her finger and twisted it, her thumb, and twisted it back, that's when she called out, Freddie's got my finger, and started crying out. I went in the room and grabbed him by his shoulders. That's where his bruise came from.
Where were you?
I was right at the doorway of his room. I wasn't inside his room.
What were you doing at the doorway of his room, Mr. Cropper?
When we confronted him about the money, Jason said, feel free to search anything in the room.
And I didn't enter into the room.
I looked through everything. He only had a problem when I got to the wallet, because he's standing there in the doorway too, watching.
Who's standing in the doorway?
They were both standing there watching me search. I didn't find anything when I got to the wallet.
Ma'am, I was actually asleep taking a nap.
No, he wasn't.
And she busted into my room and picked me up by my shoulder, and he was right behind her. She went to my closet, started ransacking my room. She took my stereo, picked it up, slammed it, took my alarm clock, smashed it across my television, and it is very true. My witness seen the damages that happened to my room. I took him my alarm clock that she dismangled across my television.
Well, the television set is one thing, an alarm clock is something else.
I understand.
Sir. We don't have anything in here. Damaged several of his music CDs and sunglasses.
Yes.
Well, all of a sudden that got a little worse just now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I actually spoke to law enforcement to see how I could get him out, and they told me I would have to have him legally evicted.
Ma'am.
Listen, don't interrupt her again, because now we're getting to the good part.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Sparks is accusing his former roommate, Renee Esky, of attacking him with a beer bottle and then having him falsely arrested.
Okay. When, Mr. Cropper, for the first time, did the defendant tell you she wanted the plaintiff out of her house because of his smoking?
From my recollection, it was never because of the smoking that I can remember. That was one of the reasons. The main reason was the pipe.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Cropper.
You know what? My main problem wasn't the fact of just the smoking itself. Like I said, there was a problem actually before I told you. When I knocked on the door and I confronted him the second time about the smoking, that's when he had told you, oh, I can do whatever the F I want. Right. It was the attitude about it that I had the problem with.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. It's your house, and if you made an agreement with him that there was no smoking inside the house, you can enforce that rule and tell him if you're going to smoke, this is not going to work.
Right.
Do you understand? I agree with that. I don't agree with you trying to get him out of your house because of that and utilizing some other reason to get him out of the house. And you got a lot of money in your wallet for somebody who's not working and who has no visible source of income except a part-time waitressing job, which is what you told me you had. That's a lot of cash that you had in your house.
That was all the money I made that night, and it was gone. And then when I had a friend, and he did stay over on the couch, and he's saying when his wallet and keys were out there on the counter, the next day he said his money in his wallet was missing. That's
why would Mr. Cropper, after you told him that your money was missing, leave his wallet out on the counter? He's coming over to sleep over because you've told him that the person who lives in your house is a thief and stole money out of your wallet. Why would he leave his money out on the counter in his wallet? That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, let me see your hospital report, please, of the second incident that involved the glass.
Okay.
You want to tell me, Miss Exie, what happened with the glass bottle?
The second incident with the bottle, he's over again, and there's a third person over.
Who's the third person?
The third person is named David, and David is a friend of Fred's. Jason...
Anybody drinking?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Jason had opened up the sliding door. You know, this is after our incident, and he had an attitude, and he actually said that he cooked some food and used the B word. He's like, I cooked some food. B word. And when he said that, like, Fred and David actually had a problem with that. And like, David is like in the dark about the whole situation. And he's like, what's up with your roommate? You know, and I started telling him what was going on. Well, David was like, you know, I think we should go have a talk with him. I was actually in my bathroom and I heard a commotion, and those two said that they had knocked on his door, and I guess there were some words exchanged, some of them being the N-word, and David ended up taking a swing at Jason and missed. And he had told me that Jason was holding his beer bottle in his hand, and like when he took the swing, Jason ducked and ran past him out the house. And when he ran out, he told me that he had no shoes on and his beer bottle was still in his hand.
Ma'am, I was not drinking that night.
He was drinking every night.
I don't drink during the week.
Yeah, so were you.
I drink...
Shut up. So were you. So was he. And so was your other friend. I have a feeling this was a house that I would not want to live in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you the victim of an assault? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, I want you to tell me what you had him arrested for, Miss Exie.
Okay, the later incident, it was about 8:30 in the morning, and Jason had actually been gone for about 3 days, and he still insisted upon coming back. No. And I actually spoke to law enforcement to see how I could get him out, and they told me I would have to have him legally evicted.
Ma'am.
Listen.
Okay.
Don't interrupt her again, because now we're getting to the good part.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he came back after 3 days.
He came back, and like I had actually talked to my... Okay.
He came back after 3 days, and he had fully paid for the month.
Yes.
Okay.
And like,
you called the police and said, I don't want him here. And the police said, hey, 10 steps ahead of you. And the police says to you, you're going to have to formally evict him. He has the right to be here.
Yes.
Next.
So they had told me it could be a long process.
Of course it can be a long process.
When I told him about it, he said, you know, I know my rights. And he said, go ahead, try to make me. And like what I didn't understand was after all this stuff, if he feels so threatened, all this is going on, why did he keep coming back?
I asked you why you had him arrested.
At 8:30 in the morning, he comes in the apartment and he's like, things are going to happen my way from now on. He's like, if I see any of your, and he said, N-word friends, he's like, this is what I'm going to do. He went to his closet and got a metal pipe out of the closet. And he was like, if you don't start doing things my way, he goes, I don't hit women, but this pipe does. And he was taking the pipe and he was swinging it like this into his hand. As soon as he did that, because he was right up in my face, I was like, this is crazy. I took out my cell phone. I told him I was calling the police. I ran to my room, locked the door.
I want to see your complaint.
May I say something, Your Honor?
No, not yet. Okay. I'm not satisfied, Mr. Sparks, with regard to the assault that you allege was committed on you by the defendant. I am, however, satisfied that she had you falsely arrested because she wanted you out of her apartment, and the only way she could get you out of the apartment was to have you arrested. She had already contacted the police the day before. Police said there's no way that she could get you out of the apartment because you had paid your rent for that month, and I do not believe that you threatened her. I do not believe that you terrorized her. So I find in your favor in the amount of $1,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Your Honor.
Quit before her one-year lease was up. Erica says Jill turned the salon into a shopfront church for gangsters.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is number 103 on the calendar in the matter of Villa versus Casares. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Villa, you have a beauty salon. And according to your complaint, you rent space in that beauty salon to independent contractors.
Right.
Such as the defendant, who is a nail specialist.
Look nice.
You rented her space in your salon at the rate of $200 a month. Is that right?
Right.
You say that and it was a 3-year lease.
It was a 1-year lease.
It was a 1-year lease. Mm-hmm. 1-year lease. You say that she left after a relatively short period of time. She owes you somewhere over $2,000 for rent.
Right.
You say she left. She says that she was asked to leave. So, tell me first about this establishment and how it works.
Okay. I have a salon. I do hair. I have 4 stations. I have pictures of those. And I have 1 space for nails.
And what's the financial arrangement that you have?
Basically, they just rent that space from me, and they take care of their insurance, their taxes, everything to run a business.
Okay, how did you find each other?
I went into a beauty supply store. I saw her nails. She does great nails, and I was looking for a nail technician at the time, and I asked her if she would be interested in booth renting a space for me. And she came in and signed a lease and rented for 1 year, and then in December before her year lease was up, in December of '96, I asked her if she would want to sign another lease.
For another year?
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay, when did she leave?
She left in May 14th. So she stayed her whole year. Now her new lease would have started May through May of '98, and that's the signed one that she has.
Well, tell me your version of what the events were surrounding her leaving and breaking the second
Actually, Your Honor,
lease.
they were very confusing. I had a staff meeting where I had 2 hair stations available, and I hired 2 hairdressers. So I had a staff meeting with 1 hairstylist and Erica, letting them know that there would be 2 hairstylists starting at Making Waves.
Making Waves is the name of your shop.
Right. Her reaction was very rude. She was obnoxious.
Well, that's your interpretation of her actions. What did she say? What did she do?
She said, "I will not work with white women. I'm prejudiced, and I do not like change." And I have a witness to that who heard that. I have 2.
And so what did you say to her?
I said, you haven't even worked with them 1 day. How can you say you're prejudiced against these girls? I just don't like them.
Okay, first of all, when I signed a contract going into a salon, not a church. And that's exactly what the salon turned into.
Explain that to me.
Well, she got religious, which is fine, that's her business. And she had the pastor there all the time.
Who's the pastor?
Right over there. And
what were they doing?
Running their church out of the salon.
What does that mean, running their church out?
That's not true.
What does that mean, running their church out of the salon?
They had their own phone line in there. The pastor was always there. The men's home, which is these men that they're trying to, from prison, that they're trying to turn over, I don't know, to make them better men, I guess. We're always there. Okay, these are men that have been in prison for really bad crimes.
So they were coming into the salon.
Right. So when I have a client sitting there, they're seeing this man there with all these tattoos on his neck, all these men. They don't want to be there. They're uncomfortable. My clients came in to get their nails done, not to be preached to. And what they did is preach God to my clients. My clients did not want to hear about God.
While they were having their nails done?
Yes, they have.
Step up here, sir.
And Jennifer's witness to that.
Get to you in a minute. Tell me your name.
Robert Dominguez.
Mr. Dominguez, when did you become involved with this salon?
When Jill and her husband first started coming to our church, and
when was that?
That was in '96. Jill had offered me a corner there to have a phone there so that I can I can do business and make contact with people for the crusade that we were organizing.
Tell
for
me
that
about
city.
the crusade.
What a crusade is is we reach out to the gang members, the drug addicts, those that are considered outcasts of society. And during that time, since we were just beginning there in that city, and finances at the time were very, very short, so Jill had offered me a corner. She offered me to that I could put a phone there. And from that point on, one thing I need to make clear is I don't force the gospel on anybody. People ask me, and I in turn respond.
Sir, I am correct, therefore, that when you say you reach out to gang members, you reach out to drug addicts, and you reach out to former prison inmates, you reach out to them and ask them to come in so that you can counsel them. Is that correct?
Witness to them.
Witness to them, counsel them, whatever. And you were doing this witnessing or counseling in this salon.
No, it wasn't. No, not in the salon.
Are you telling me, sir, that you never had any of these people who you were trying to reach come into the salon?
No.
They never did?
No. The men's home were there during the crusade. I wasn't counseling them. I wasn't witnessing to them. They were part of the workforce of helping me organize this crusade.
Mr. Dominguez, maybe we're not understanding each other, sir. Did the people that you were involved with, either people who were reformed and then reaching out, or the people that you were reaching out to, ever come into the salon?
Yes, they did.
That's right. And they came in, you spoke to them, they spoke to each other,
We had conversation.
Did you ever speak to any of the defendant's clients while they were having their nails done, or while they were waiting to have their nails done?
When I was asked. When I was asked either by Erica, or I was either introduced to them, or they would ask me questions once they
That's a lot of ors. Step up. Who are you?
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer, how were you involved in this operation?
I also worked at the salon and was asked to leave.
Why?
Because I was an evil spirit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You changed the establishment from a beauty salon, hair and nails, to a beauty salon, hair, nails, and redemption.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Manicurist Erica Casares says she quit her lease at Jill Villa's beauty salon because Jill turned the place into a church for outcasts.
You were an evil spirit? Who told you that?
Erica.
That's what they stated.
That's not true, Your
Jill
Honor.
stated that to me.
That is not true,
Yes,
Your
it is
Honor.
true.
Just a second.
Can I say why she was dismissed?
Were you a hairstylist?
She was dismissed because she came into my shop intoxicated with a male gentleman with her. She was stealing from Erica because Erica kept saying how she's stealing all my nails.
No.
She's stealing all my nails. She was stealing
My
my
stuff is
nail
locked up.
accessories.
Just a second. I really want to find out. Now I know you were a hairstylist. You were either
spirit. Give me a
dismissed or you
break.
left, whatever it is.
Give me a break.
I want you to tell me about
That's a good
this
one, Erica.
group that was running inside the salon in addition to hair and nails.
Okay, she moved the pastor in a desk, so we all had to move stations because there wasn't enough room. It's a very small salon. And then we would talk about God. They play Christian tapes all day, and I think it's great, but you know, it shouldn't have been mixed in with our business.
When you say playing Christian tapes all day, you mean over the whatever PA system you had? Instead
That's
of
not true. I had a little radio by my station. Your Honor, both these ladies on their own came to our church. They were part of our church.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
no, that's
great.
good. That's fine because that's where the church
I never
belonged.
heard that there was a problem. I never heard that there was a problem in the salon. Never.
Ms. Casares, I've heard from Ms. Villa about what she recalls of the time that you told her that you were leaving. I'd like you to tell me about the day.
She asked me to leave.
Well, tell me about it.
I just told her I was no longer happy there. You can't tell Jill nothing about the church.
So you told her you were not happy?
Right.
And what, and?
To go back, before I signed the contract, she stated in front of me, Jennifer, and Mary Alice, anytime we were not happy, we were allowed to leave. She was holding nobody to their contract. She had done that before, and she didn't want nobody else to be there that were not happy.
Okay,
So we had a verbal agreement that when we were not happy, we can let her know and we can leave.
Well, let me tell you what the law is. The law is when you sign a contract, and it's a contract for property, you can't go outside that contract for an interpretation. So whatever you sign is what you're bound to. Do you understand?
Yeah,
that's why we have contracts, and that's why we have laws surrounding contracts. You call what you're suggesting we call parole evidence, which means evidence that goes outside the four corners of that document. And you can't do that. So I want you to be smart the next time. You don't sign an agreement with the understanding, well, we have a side agreement, which is if you're not happy, you can break this contract, because that doesn't make sense. If that's your agreement, then what do you need a contract for? Right? If your agreement is, if you're not happy, you can leave, then why would she ask you to sign a contract? You understand?
She needed it for books or something.
Baloney. Come on. Ms. Casares, what I'd like you to tell me about this phone conversation that you had. You told her you were leaving because you weren't happy.
Right.
And then she called you on the phone and said, tell me why you're not happy.
I just told her. I said, it's because of the church thing. I can't handle it being in there. I was losing clients. Without clients, I make no money. With no money, I cannot pay rent. That's just, and you can ask her, last month, I was so slow there. And it's because I was losing clients. I have statements here.
I can't read statements.
And then,
statements are not admissible.
Well, after that, she just asked me, when I told her about the church thing, she goes, when can you be out of here? So to me, that was throwing me out by asking me when I could be out of there. So I told her. I turned around, I looked at my husband, I go, when can we go get my stuff? He said, right now. I went and picked up my stuff. I was out of there. That's all the phone conversation was.
When you signed your contract in December, your renewal
I signed my contract in February because my contract was up in February.
Okay, so you signed it in February. By the way, can I see it, please? Ms. Casares, listen to me very carefully. You signed this contract December 20th, 1996 is the date you signed it, not February.
Okay, February was my contract was up, my first one. Then never.
She said it was up in May.
No, my first one was up in February.
Just a second. No.
Yours is
Ms.
up in
Casares,
April.
you got to get it straight. You signed this in December. Your first lease was not up until May. This is for a year after that. Now, what I want to know from you is, when for the first time did Mr. Dominguez come into the shop?
Maybe in February or March. February, I don't know. I don't know when he came in.
Did he come in before or after you signed this new lease?
After.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
You came in after she signed this lease?
In March of '97.
Okay. Ms. Villa, let me tell you what your problem is, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She ran into my shop and said, guess what? Brian down the street wants me, and he wants me bad.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I'm not sure, nor will I ever be certain, of the reason that Ms. Casares left, whether you asked her to leave or whether she said, I'm leaving. She contracted for space in a beauty salon, not a beauty salon / mission. After she signed her lease, you changed the establishment from a beauty salon, hair and nails, to a beauty salon, hair, nails, and redemption. You can't do that.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. You changed the rules.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Can I state something, please? When I asked Robert to take some space for the Stop the Violence campaign, which was only going to last a period of 2 months, I sat down with each one of my stylists and we had a staff meeting, and I told them that he would be joining us, and if there was any problem, to please let me know now. I didn't see any problem. If I would have seen a problem and heard that they had a problem with it, Your Honor, I would have stopped it immediately.
Let me ask you this question, Ms. Villa. Did her business drop off?
Her business was skyrocketing.
No.
All the women in my church came to her to get their nails done.
They didn't pay me.
Yes, they did. I took it off your rent.
Miss Villa, why do you think she would leave a business where she was making money? I mean, maybe I'm missing something.
Because she got a better
if
deal
her
down
business
the
was
street.
skyrocketing, why would she leave your business?
Because she got a better deal down the street.
What kind of better deal?
The guy, she had come into my shop, okay? She ran into my shop and said, guess what? Brian down the street wants me, and he wants me bad. He said that he will drop my rent, there won't be any contract, and I can go and work for him. Before she left, she was giving out her calling cards with his name on it and number.
Hold it. Did you go to work down the street?
Yeah, it's about a mile away.
Here's his ad.
I needed a place to take my clients to.
And when you went to work down the street, you went to work under the same conditions that you paid for space?
Yes, it's a salon.
And how much rent did you pay in the space?
The new space? He's charged me $150 now, but it goes up in 6 months to $170. After 6 months, it goes up some more.
So you save yourself at least $50 a month going to him?
Yeah, which I had no problem with finish out my contract with Jill. But once you cannot tell Jill about a church and then her be the same with you. It doesn't work that way.
Well, that's conjecture. You see, now you're coming to conjecture. I was missing something, you see, because you say you had no business. She said you had a lot of business.
No.
Well, Miss Casares, let me suggest this to you, madam. Common sense always plays a very important part in judging. A competitor down the road would not offer you a better deal than you were getting in her place unless you were prepared to bring into that establishment a substantial clientele.
Well, Your Honor.
So you bettered your situation by leaving her. You bettered your situation by leaving her by going to a place where you could have your clients and pay less rent.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
This is a difficult case. And I'm going to tell you why. It's difficult as far as the decision that I make. Because, Ms. Villa, you changed the workspace that Ms. Casares contracted for by bringing in this gentleman who ran a different kind of a business within your salon operation. And I believe that that's unfair to do to somebody. And I, quite frankly, can understand why some people who are coming in to have their nails done in what they assume is going to be a predominantly female operation, you know, ladies sitting around having their nails done, etc., having this gentleman there, and a variety of other people who are either in the saving business or trying to be saved. That's disconcerting. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying it's not what she bargained for. On the other hand, I'm not really quite satisfied that his presence there was the only reason that you left. I would suggest that one of the reasons that you left was because you got a better deal down the road. Now, it may have been that you were unhappy with this situation there and you felt as if you would be more comfortable elsewhere. I think that you are responsible for part of the rental on that property. I think that if this gentleman being there is not a drawback, you should be able to rent that space in a relatively short period of time. I'm going to give you 5 months' worth of rent. Do you understand?
Yes.
You see to it that you re-rent the space. And if you can't re-rent the space, you better rethink your position about mixing your business with the church. You may want to keep them separately. You know,
They're no longer there.
They're no longer there? Well, that's good.
It was only for 2 months, which
That's good.
they knew.
All right, the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused, you may step out.
On the next Judge Judy.
Nothing as far as I'm concerned. I never worked with her.
And I never knew you either.
the ex-girlfriend of her daughter's new boyfriend. Marilyn claims Maria keyed her daughter's '66 Mustang.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 97 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus McDowell. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mrs. Davis, you have a daughter
Yes.
who has a boyfriend.
Yes.
Where's your daughter?
Right here.
Your name?
Alyssa?
Where's the boyfriend?
Steve.
You say that this young lady, who is the ex-girlfriend of Steve,
Yes.
keyed your car.
It's registered in my name. It's her car. It's her car, but it's registered in my name.
Well, it's your, then you're the owner of the car, and you want her to pay for the damage for keying the car. Well, did you see her key the car?
No. She was seen.
Who did?
No one saw her do it.
That's a problem.
Right. They saw her go.
Well, don't tell me what somebody else saw. You have witnesses that saw her?
Yes.
I'd like to hear the witnesses. First, tell me who you are.
Oh, my name's Crystal.
Crystal what?
Crystal Gibbons.
All right, Miss Gibbons. What did you see and when?
It was March. It was late March, and we were at our friend Devin's house. And there's several of us over there, and I was standing near the balcony, but like right in front of the door, not on the balcony, but right outside of it. And I looked down, like outside, and I saw her out there. And then she like stood there, like looking in. It looked like seeing who was in there and stuff. And then she turned like and started walking this way to the right. And then like I was watching her walk, and I could see her turn this way, like Alyssa's car, or her car, was parked in the visitor's parking lot, which was in the direction where she was going, like right behind the apartment, which is, it looked like is where she was going.
Does Miss McDowell live in that apartment complex?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't know.
Do you?
Yes,
for
I
sure.
do. And I could tell you where I was going after I left there.
Where were you
Okay,
going?
after I came from my apartment, I went to the dumpster to take some trash out, and I heard people talking and laughing. It sounded like they're arguing, but like having like a discussion, like I don't know what they were talking about. And I was like, who's up there? So I went and I looked, and I saw that they had saw me, so I went back to my apartment. I was getting my stuff to go to my boyfriend's house. The second time that I had went over there, I went to, I don't remember even if I went back over to buy my car. I didn't go anywhere behind her car was probably behind my building.
It's getting much too complicated. You
But
didn't
I
see
did not go behind the building. I went
You
back to my
didn't see her
apartment.
key the car.
No, but I started going to the direction of the car. Right
But there
before
are other things in that direction.
Yeah, there are, I'm sure, but.
And she lives in that
My
development.
house. Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. You have any other witnesses, Miss Davis?
Yes. Me.
My name is Corinne Herrera, and about a week after Alyssa and Steve got involved.
Alyssa and Steve?
Yes, these two. Maria called me on the phone and
Who called you?
Maria.
That's you.
Yeah.
And was asking questions, and one of the questions she asked me was what type of car Alyssa drove. And I told her I couldn't tell her that because that's my friend.
I wanted to know what type of car, so because I seen cars parked in front of her house or his house, and I want to know if it was hers, because to see if she was there, because he was still, kind of involved with me. That is why.
How long were you dating him?
3 years.
Sit down. You want to say something?
Please. My name is Steve Gonzalez. We had already been separated for about 3 months before I met her, and so I don't understand what she's saying. We were still involved. We weren't still involved.
I had broke up with him right before Christmas time, and he had been trying to get back. He kept, bugging me to get back together.
Yes, and then she.
And then finally, I was like, okay, I want to, we'll work it out. And he was like, okay. I said, well, I don't want you getting girls' phone numbers, and I won't. And then, at that time, he had already gotten her phone number, and I found her number on his pager, and I called it. That's how I found out, And then I was talking to
talking to her. We were friendly at first until one day I went to his house for him to see the baby, and I didn't want.
What baby?
My baby, our baby. I wanted her to.
You have a baby with him?
Yeah. I had to, I was not about to look.
What's not true?
What she's saying, like, we were still kind of involved. We
weren't really
kind of involved. You have a child together.
Yeah, but
that's not like having a pool together, sir.
Not in a relationship.
And
not in a relationship.
And so I was asking.
Miss Davis.
What? And I asked her, please, could you please, go home so he can, I will leave the baby here so he can see him, but I won't leave him here if you were here. No, Alyssa, don't leave, don't listen to her. And so I was like, whatever. So then that was the
just
first.
a second, I'm not interested in this nonsense. It's nonsense. How old are you?
I'm 21. I'll be 22 in a couple
And how old is this baby?
He's 3 years.
He's 3 years old. Do you live alone?
Yes, I live with me and the baby, and I've been paying for us for the past 2 years by myself. I mean,
Just a second. Do you work?
Yes, I do. I work fast food to raise my son. He's too good for that.
Just a second. You work?
Yes, I do.
Is that how you support yourself and your child?
And I have some help from the state.
Okay. Now, what do you do?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
Just a second. Stop. I didn't ask you another question. I said, what do you do? Right now you say you're unemployed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you were employed?
April, I think, of 97, or March of 97, I became unemployed. And
what kind of work had you been doing?
I was working for a grocery store, meat department, a meat clerk. And I was... She's lying.
And you were paying child support?
We were living together, and I was paying for everything.
So you were really living together up until recently?
Yeah. No, since about like 7 or 8 months, almost. It's been like 7 months.
A lifetime.
No, but that's a long time, and she's lying.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I don't care if you pick up papers from the street. I don't care if you pick up cans and cash them in for a nickel apiece. There is a way that you can make money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Alyssa Davis says her boyfriend's ex, Maria McDowell, keyed her '66 Mustang.
How old are you?
22.
Who do you live with?
My father.
How much child support were you paying?
I was paying for half the rent and bills.
No, after you left, when you were not living together anymore.
I was still paying, no. I still gave her money up till the point before I became unemployed.
How much money, sir?
It was probably...
$10. Sorry.
How much money what?
How much money were you giving her every week?
$10.
I was giving her, what I was giving her was half of the rent.
Just a second, I'm not talking about when you were living together. I'm talking about after you were no longer living together. And she went out on her own.
I can't say exactly how much.
Why haven't you been working?
Because I have no vehicle to go to work. That's why I lost my job. My work cut my hours, and I was working in another city from where we live.
So what do you do all day?
Looking for a job.
How are you looking for a job if you have no vehicle?
I have an interview this Thursday.
How do you look for a job without a vehicle?
I call, or I use my father's vehicle.
What does your father do?
He's a machinist.
Sit down. How old is your daughter?
17.
She go to school?
She just graduated.
And what is she doing now?
She's working.
Step up here. Who are you working for?
Baskin Robbins.
Is that what you want to do, work for Baskin & Robbins?
No, I'm just saving money. And I'll look for a better job, and then I'm planning to go to college.
Well, that's good. Did you graduate well from high school?
Yeah.
Academically well?
Yeah. But...
Is your last name Davis?
Yeah.
Miss Davis? Don't hitch your dreams to a falling star, madam. Your mother understands what that means. Look, Miss Davis, you have no proof that Miss McDowell scratched her car. You surmise that she scratched her car You think that she may have had a motive to scratch your car. And if I asked her whether she scratched your car, she would tell me...
No, I did not.
Right. She would tell me that she did not.
She has been harassing us since
I want to
March.
say something. Ever since I met him, she calls my house at least 5 times a day. She calls my work. She comes to my work.
5 times a day.
At least 5 times a day. She tells me, watch your back, you know, leave him alone.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I've never
I have his dad that said he would come and say how she threatened me.
His dad isn't here.
She has sprayed my mom with mace with her kid in her arms. She says all kinds of stuff to tell me, watch your back. You know, she told me specifically, I will never leave you alone as long as you're with him. He saw her walk in the direction of my car too. He saw her walk away, and she saw him walk away.
So what? That's not enough?
She told me that she had no reason in the world to go in that direction at all, that she didn't go in that direction.
You cannot convict somebody of doing damage to property because they were walking in a particular direction, especially when she lives in that apartment
There is
complex.
nothing over there.
It doesn't make any
My
difference.
apartment.
Shh, just a second, Miss Davis, it doesn't make any difference. She lives there. If she did not live in the complex where you all live, I would suggest that maybe there was some evidence that she looked in the window, she drove to the location, she looked in the window. There was no other reason for her being in that apartment development. What are they, townhouses or high-rise? What are they?
Just
Two-story apartment.
Two-story apartments, but she lives there.
And no one here lives here. That was my apartment complex. They were at a friend's house.
And so they don't live there, but they were visiting a friend's house in your apartment complex. Yeah. So, Ms. Davis, you're not going to be able to prove your case before me that she vandalized the property. It's all a very unfortunate circumstance. You know what the saddest thing about this is?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I mean, he's with a 17-year-old that he just went to her prom. He's 22. He needs to grow up.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marilyn Davis is suing 21-year-old Maria McDowell, the ex-girlfriend of her daughter's new boyfriend.
You know what the saddest thing about this is?
The son, which, can I tell you this? She will not let him see him because of me. She won't let him be around him. She has to know that I will be at work. Can I talk, please?
Just
Go
a
ahead.
second.
She will not let him see him. Before she let him see him about a week ago, he hadn't seen him in a month.
Just a second. Just a second. He has plenty of time.
She won't.
And just a second. Hey, he has plenty of time. He's not working. He's very big and he's very strong. And if he wanted to see his child, all he's got to do is get on his legs and go down to the local domestic relations court and file a petition for visitation. Then they're going to say to him, with the same legs that you got here to file your petition for visitation, get a job. And then support this child so that the people of this state don't have to contribute to the support for your child. And then we'll talk about visitation. So I don't want to hear about visitation for somebody who can't or won't pay a penny for support because they don't have a car. How is he supposed to get the baby for visitation if he has no car? Yeah, you want to tell me that?
Yes, please.
Sure. Just tell me, how are you supposed to get the baby for visitation? That's what I want you to answer.
I've been down to the child support division office.
Yes.
All my evidence of all my return checks of evidence that for all the child support that I've paid for the 2 years that we were living together, she stole and burnt. I have no evidence. They say I owe $8,000 back support. So we're going to the Bank of America to get the return checks right now to go do through all that.
You talk very fast. You think that you can talk faster than me? You think that you can talk faster than me? You think that you're smarter than I am?
I don't.
I know exactly what's going on. I've been in the family court for 25 years. I know exactly what's going on. You lived together for a long time, right? When you lived together, she was on welfare. Is that right? Right.
Yeah.
Right. And welfare, in all probability, did not know that the two of you were living together. Is that right? Am I right?
Yes.
Of course I'm right. So, don't give me a lot of baloney. I know everything. What I'm talking about is now that you've separated, she's got a job. She also gets welfare. You, sir, on the other hand, don't have a job.
At the moment.
Get one.
I am.
And then, When you walk into court, you'll say, I got a job. I want to pay support for my child. I want to visit with my child. And I guarantee you, any court will say a father should have as much visitation with his child, if he's not the child's custodial parent, as is possible, because that's good for the child. But as long as you, sir, at your age, are acting irresponsibly, which is not to have a job, I don't care if you pick up papers from the street. I don't care if you pick up cans and cash them in for a nickel apiece. There is a way that you can make money. Bag groceries, dry cars. You can earn enough money to send her $10 or $15 a week. Whether you like her, whether you don't like her, I don't care.
With doing that.
But you haven't done it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He is a better dad than you are. You haven't given me a dime.
You don't even let me see him. You don't even let me see him regardless.
Where's the money that you can get
Where's
him
my son?
nice
Let me see
stuff?
my son and I'll give you some money.
Listen, I want to tell you something. Everybody can find a job.
I know.
It depends upon whether you set your sights here or here. Now, if you're 22 years old and you're living with your father and you have no expenses and you want to set your sights up here for a job, that's fine. If, on the other hand, you're 22 years old and when you were 19 years old you made a baby that I'm paying for and you're paying for, then you set your sights down here and you work at whatever kind of job comes along, raking leaves, digging ditches, whatever it takes to earn a buck to support a baby that you make so that you don't have to support that
And
baby.
I'm paying her to harass me.
Just a second. Why don't you point your finger over there, madam? I don't think you're using your brain.
Because
you want to know
she's
you're
harassing
you want to know why you're not using your brain? Your problem long term is not going to come from this side of the bench. Your problem long term is going to come from this side. This case is dismissed.
I wish.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Boy. And he said
And on the next Judge Judy.
You don't know me.
Saying
okay,
she
so
didn't. I do know you. You've maced me, remember?
I maced you because you wouldn't get the hell out of my house.
We were leaving your house.
You were not leaving my house.
I have assault charges against her.
Are you getting her? Watch my back.
She calls our house all the time. She goes to my daughter's work.
What are you going to do?
I didn't say I'm going to
She
do
keys her car. She goes to friends' houses.
You call my house every single day and hate
When was the last time I called? I swear on my son's life, I have not called her. I called her house this morning and hung up.
I don't know.
Is that? No, I don't think so. I don't.
Police will find out.
You know what? You can get all your phone, whatever. I did not call your house.
They're doing it, don't
Oh,
worry.
you know, you have your little boyfriend dye his hair like yours.
You're the one. You want him back? You cried to me. Let me have my boyfriend back.
Why did I miss her? Because she was in my doorway. She wouldn't get out.
They
You know what? She did not need to come to my house. She was threatening me. Okay.
Why were they? No, no one was threatening you. You
She
called
came
my
to
house.
She would not get out. I had to call the police to get her out of my house.
My mom went over there to tell her to
She is
leave us
psycho.
alone.
She's psycho.
You're psycho. You go to my work. Don't say you don't go to my work.
When was the last time?
You call my work. You call my house.
Maybe 3 days after you guys met, I went to your work. I had not.
Maria, you called my house for like 3 months.
Oh, you are a lying. Oh, you are such a liar. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I swear.
Well, you when you swear it doesn't mean anything. It
I don't know when the last time
I went to the eye doctor the next day. My eyes are still messed
I've gone on, and I have a better boyfriend
That is so
that is
wrong.
very good to my
Yeah, then why do you pay him? I love you till he changes his paper number. Till he changes his paper number. Did you have that? I love you.
I thought you said
Yeah,
you
I told him to give it to him.
No, do I have
You did until he changed it. I'm saying you did until he changed
number
it.
now.
You said you weren't with your boyfriend no more.
I have his
Did you say that
paper.
the other day when we
No,
talked?
you're having
into their
No,
hands.
you said you didn't want to be with me.
No, I did not say I didn't want to. He did not want to be with me.
Well, I just want the whole world to see what a mental case looks
I
like.
didn't want to tell you that because you know what?
You guys had to know.
He is a better dad than you are. You haven't given
Because
me
you
a
don't even let
dime.
me see him. You don't even let me see him regardless.
Where's the money that you can get
Where's
him
my son?
nice
Let me see
stuff?
my son and I'll give you some
No,
money.
he hasn't had anything nice, okay? I don't think so. I can work fast food to raise my son, but you can't. You know what? I am better than you, okay?
Vicky Hopkins. Marnie claims that Vicky agreed to adopt her daughter 9 years ago, but the adoption never actually took place. Now the state is coming after Marnie for back child support, and she wants her aunt to pay.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 217 on the calendar in the matter of Castillo versus Hopkins. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Reading these papers suggests to me that this was a terrible tragedy in your family, but most especially for an innocent child who was now 10?
9.
9. Ms. Castillo, you present to me a very unique cause of action, one that I have not seen before in my 25 years. You are suing the defendant for what appears to be a failed adoption of your child.
Yes.
You were a teenager, you had a child out of wedlock.
That's true.
And the defendant is your aunt.
That's true.
Briefly, she and her husband agreed to take custody of this child. She says because the child wasn't being cared for properly as an infant. Is that right?
That's right. That's not true.
Well, she'll tell me about that. There came a point when you said that you would adopt, or to at least take custody of this child and perhaps adopt her when she was an infant.
Right.
How old?
She was 14 months old.
And for that first 14 months, she had lived with her mother?
Off and on, she lived with Marnie. She visited with me from the time she was 2 weeks old, off and on.
Visited you, not lived with you.
Miss Castillo, I would suggest that you not be hostile.
I'm sorry.
In any event, the child's now 9 years old. And what this is all about is, for one reason or another, which I find very interesting in here, this adoption did not take place. You did not adopt this child with your husband. And the child at some point was being supported by the taxpayers.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's right.
And the state has come against you.
Yes, that's true.
For back child support.
Yes.
So you are suing your aunt because she didn't adopt your daughter, and therefore you're stuck paying the child support. That's what this case is about.
That's basically, yes, what it's about.
Your Honor, can I say something? We were going to adopt this little girl because the father was named unknown in the whole beginning of everything.
I have all the paperwork here.
Miss Castillo,
sorry, ma'am.
Don't interrupt.
Okay.
Up until these final papers were sent to us, everything was going according to plan.
How old was the child at that point?
She was 14 months old. We got a letter and some papers sent to us from Don Smith, which was handling the adoption, showing that Fillmore Hostler was Marley's father that Marnie had named. He was Native American. We were told in the beginning it was a good thing this little girl's father wasn't Native American. It would have to be okayed by the tribe.
Okay, let me go back so that we all, put your hand down, so that we all understand each other. Can I see those papers, please? When a child is the child, at least in a certain amount of blood lineage of an American Indian, under the U.S. Code, all the states have agreed that whatever dealings involve that child by way of custody or adoption, the tribe, the native tribe, has first crack at trying those cases or at dealing with the adoption because they feel as if the tribe wants to hold on to whatever children that they have rather than allow the state to be involved. So that is the law. You are quite correct. Now, did you name someone at any point, Ms. Castillo, as the father of this child?
Not at the birth, but during the rundown on the adoption with Don Smith, yes, I did name the real father.
Okay. Now, the real father that you named was a person who was an American Indian.
He was half, and I also have papers stating that it says Caucasian with his name on it, with their name, with their signatures on it.
If he is half American Indian, then the tribe has the right to deal with the adoption. If you had wanted them to adopt this child with ease and let it go through, why at the time that they filed the papers did you name, when you first said, I don't know who the father is, why did you then name somebody who was an American Indian as the father?
He was her father, and at the time, I was telling the honest truth. I wanted the best for my little girl.
Just a second.
I did want the best for her.
Miss Castillo then if he was the father, that means that you lied at the beginning when you said you didn't know who
I
the
never
father
had
was.
told that I didn't know who the father was. I just didn't sign the birth certificate with any father's name on it. I never told them that I didn't know who the father was. Personally, I didn't tell anybody who the father was. It was no one's business. I didn't know what I was doing as an 18-year-old giving birth to a little girl. I didn't know that that's right.
Then somebody else was named as the father.
She named that person on the papers. It asked in the DA's papers who you have slept with in the last 5 months. The person she's pushing for the child support was named because I was dating him in June.
Just a second. Just a second. She can't name somebody else as the father.
She named him
And
because
what
he
did
was on the DA's papers stating that I slept with him in June. So since she considered that as a person to go for the back child support, she pushed it.
Just a minute. She's not suing you for back child support, Ms.
No, but
Castillo.
she's-
Hey! She's not suing you for child support. The state is suing you for the money that the taxpayers paid out for your daughter.
I understand that, but she also told my mother on a phone conversation, why should Marnie have to pay for it and let the father pay for it? And Evan Duke looks like her father, and she looks like Linda Evans, the mother.
Why don't you take a blood test?
We have taken a blood test. It hasn't came back yet.
Oh, baloney.
It has not. It just, the blood tests were just barely taken 3 weeks ago.
At age 9?
At age 9 years old. This only has been coming about just this year.
If the person that you say she named as the father...
He's not.
Is not...
Excuse me, ma'am. He's not the father, though.
Then the blood test will establish
That's true.
that.
That is very true.
Then you will totally be responsible for the child support.
Totally be responsible for a breach of contract agreement?
There is no... Madam, let me explain something to you. A child is not a piece of meat.
I didn't think it was a piece
No,
of
a
meat.
child is not a piece of meat.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know what? I went through a lot of trauma and turmoil over this whole thing.
Hey, you caused a lot of trauma.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. In this unusual custody case, Vicki Hopkins is being sued by her niece, Marnie Castillo, after caring for her daughter for many years. Marnie says she thought her aunt adopted her daughter 9 years ago and was shocked to find out that the adoption never went through. Now the state wants Marnie to pay back child support, but Marnie feels her aunt should pay.
I understand that this child at some point went back to you.
Yes.
Is that just... Yes. When did the child come back to you?
When my aunt had had surgery and she got on all kinds of medication, my uncle thought it was a better idea for her to come back to the mother. Since I had been previously on drugs and on alcohol, I do admit to that, yes. But it took me a long journey to get where I am today. And the child was in the best interest with them. But they always led me to believe she was adopted to them, and I was never an absent parent. That's why I'm angry about the child support. I never had proper visitations. I had no clue she wasn't adopted until 1994 on Easter, when my aunt and I got into a fight during Easter. She left me at our family function. I had to find my own ride home that time. We had got back. The DA had sent me papers saying I owed this back child support. But the fact of what I'm here to argue is they never let me have anything to do with her. And if I was an absent parent, I should have had paternal rights. I should have been notified that they had never adopted her. And nothing. I was never adopted.
Are you saying to me, Miss Castillo, that your aunt and uncle prevented you from seeing
Yes,
this little...
they did, ma'am. They did.
You're not letting me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Don't cut me off.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Are you saying that your aunt and uncle didn't let you see your daughter?
Yes, I'm telling you that.
Is that true?
No, that's not
That
true.
is true, and you know it.
In the very
And you moved
beginning,
away
when
from her.
Marley
You
first
moved
came
away.
to us...
You're
I could never
irritating
see her.
me. If you irritate me again,
sorry.
I'm going to
I
dismiss your
understand.
case.
Okay.
Good.
In the beginning, when Marley first came to stay with us, for her to bond with my husband, my daughter, and myself, she was going through an emotional time, up in the night crying, couldn't figure out where her mother was at. I asked Marnie not to come to visit for at least the first 6 months,
3 years.
so she could bond with us.
3 years.
I told you.
I'm sorry.
I told you one more time, and you're out of here. You got it?
Yeah.
One more time. Be careful, because I mean it. Go ahead.
This happened. After the first 6 months, Marnie was allowed to visit with Marley. I never heard from Marnie very much. Marnie would call and I would talk to her, and I would tell her how Marley was doing. I told her the adoption had stopped because she had named Fillmore as the father, and I said, I can't have this little girl ripped out of my arms into a strange people's place when this little girl is emotional already. And Marnie was told that on the phone a number of times. Even Marnie's mother, which is my sister, was told this. My sister was very upset with Marnie for doing that. And she made the comment, if this little girl...
Don't tell me what, what your
Anyway,
sister
the
said.
whole thing boiled down to, after the first 6 months, Marley bonded with us, and everything became much better in the household. Marnie was allowed to see her whenever she wanted.
How often did she, in fact, come?
Marnie very seldom contacted or called us. Unless Marnie was fighting with one of her boyfriends, then she would call us on the phone and talk to me to come and help her get her out of a situation with one of the boyfriends. Of course, I lived away from her, couldn't do anything about it. So, other than the phone calls, there was nothing I could do. Marnie was always welcome to come see that child.
Ms. Hopkins, at what point did you return the child to her mother?
I returned Marley in May of 1996.
Why?
My husband and I had discussed it. My sister told Marley who her real mother was on a visit one weekend. And when she brought her back, she says to me, "Oh, by the way, I told Marley who her real mother is." I was just devastated. We were waiting to tell her when the time was right.
So she had been with you for 8 years?
For 8 years, and we were waiting to tell her who her real mother was. But my sister brought it upon herself to do it. After that, things started
What's wrong
to
with your
change.
sister?
I love her, but people do their own thing. And so after that, Marley wanted to be around Marnie because she felt this bond with her. She asked me, "Mom, why did Marnie keep Tristano and give me away?" I said...
You mean she has another child?
Yes.
How old is the other child?
2, I guess.
2?
2.5. And I said, "Honey, you'll have to ask Marnie that because I can't answer your question."
When she had come to see or had seen the little girl, how was she introduced to her during these 8 years?
She called Marnie Rui and Rue all the time. And that's what she addressed her as.
Okay.
Until my sister told her who her real mother was. And I told Marley, I said, "If you want to call her Mom, that's up to you, Marley."
What had she called you?
She calls me Mom, she calls my husband Dad, and she calls my oldest daughter Sister.
Okay. So what happened to propel the child from your home to their home?
So after that, with Marley being curious and wanting to be around her little brother and be around her real mother, I talked to my husband one evening and I said, "What would you do if Marnie asked for Marley to come back to her?" He said, "Well, would that be so bad?" He said, "Would giving Marnie a second chance at being a mother be really bad?" He said, "She is doing good now," and he said, "Not a lot of people get a second chance." So the both of us decided that would be okay. And we talked to Marnie, and that's how she ended up going back. I called 2 or 3 times a day, upset and checking on the little girl. I did go through a nervous breakdown the whole year of letting her go, wondering if it was the right thing. I do now know that it wasn't the right thing. And Marnie had her 2 months, sent her to her mother, which is my sister. I called and I said, "Can I talk to Marley? She's outside playing." I called 3 or 4 times, the same answer. Finally, Marnie said, "Well, she's at my mom's." I thought she was there on a visit. Come to find out, Marnie had sent her there permanently. The little girl is still now with my sister. In the beginning, my sister and I had problems, and I said, "The little girl should have been sent back to us, not to you. Why did you guys do this to us?" And I literally had a breakdown over it. My husband called Marnie and said, "Why didn't you guys send this little girl home?"
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What about the fact that your daughter is my dad's real daughter, Vicky, huh? What about that fact? You're my aunt and my cousin is my sister. What about that one?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. In this bizarre child custody case, Marnie Castillo feels her aunt, Vicky Hopkins, should be responsible for paying back child support for Marnie's daughter.
Why did you send her to your mother's house?
My aunt knew we lived in a very small...
Why did you send her to your mother's house?
I lived in a studio apartment, my husband, I, and my son. My aunt told me if I didn't take her in May that it wouldn't be a good thing for her to go back. So
You mean because of school?
But there was no room in this house for her. She had her own things, her own bedroom, and we had no room at the time.
Just a second.
We
Ms.
were
Castillo, did you tell your aunt when you spoke to her, before your daughter was moved to your house, "I can't take her now"?
Yes.
Just a second. "I cannot take her now. I have
small.
no room"?
Yes, I did say that.
Did she say that to you?
No, ma'am. I would have never, ever...
Oh,
Can I
please,
address her?
Ms. Castillo.
Can I address
You
her,
are
please?
so full of baloney that
No,
you
I'm
told
not,
this
ma'am.
lady who had parented a
This
child
is my
for 8
husband
years.
who's a witness. He was there during the conversation.
Place was
She
too
came
small.
to our house to see how big
This
it was.
action was forced upon Marnie. I asked her can she wait till we get a bigger place? Something. I could foresee the problems happening. The child was used to her own room, bigger things. All we had was this little small apartment. It was very difficult.
So who did you tell that to?
My aunt.
No! You listen to me. Who did you tell that to, sir?
I explained this to my wife.
I'm not interested whether you explained it to your wife. I'm interested in... I don't believe that she told her aunt.
I did.
I don't believe you,
I
madam.
overheard it on the phone conversation.
I don't believe you. Sit down. I don't believe you. Because I don't believe that this
Ma'am,
lady
can
who
I
had
address you,
parented a
please?
child... Hey,
please, can I state something? You know what? I went through a lot of trauma and turmoil over this whole thing.
Hey, you caused a lot of trauma.
I didn't cause anything. My aunt is putting on a melancholy act here. I was the one that was the victim. They only agreed to take her if it was on adoption terms. Yes, I was having problems, but maybe I could have gone I went to drug treatment. They moved away when I was in drug treatment. I had no clue where they were. I was trying to get my life together, and they moved away. I didn't get in contact with the little girl again until she was 3 years old. I had no Christmas visitations with her, no holidays, nothing. My aunt's leading you to believe that she's the victim. She was never the victim in this. I and my little girl both were a victim. I was 18 years old, didn't know what I was doing. I asked them for help. They were like my parents to me. I believed
May I see the bill, please, for the
bill
state
is
says
right
that
here,
you
and
owe
all
them.
the adoption paper stuff is
Can
here,
I
ma'am.
see what the bill is that the state says that you owe them?
I'm sorry to get angry, but this hurts me. I've gone through a lot with this, and my aunt didn't go through anything except last year, the nervous breakdown, if she even did.
4530.
She
Miss
constantly
Castillo,
called.
Miss Castillo, it's too bad that you have two children. Not one, but two.
I do have
Because
two.
when you, it's too bad you have any. Because when you call yourself a victim, when you call yourself a victim, the only victim in this case
is the little girl.
That's right. You caused it. Your irresponsibility caused it. Your drug problem caused it. Your drug rehabilitation caused it. These people didn't need an additional responsibility. They took on that responsibility because of a problem, a mess you created. You compounded it. You compounded it by naming someone as the father of this child who precluded them without a great deal of hassle from going through with an adoption. At some point, your mother told this little girl at age 8 and a half
That has nothing to do with me.
told her that she was not her mother, that you were the mother. That's very confusing. I don't know where your sister went to psychiatry school, but she probably got it in some thing where you read behind it in a magazine, because she's not a very intelligent woman. Clearly not an intelligent woman. Ultimately, the only one who suffered emotionally, who's an innocent, is your daughter. Next in line are these people, and way down the pike are you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
This case has to do with money. And the only issue is whether I'm going to tell this lady that she's got to pay $4,300, or I'm going to tell you that you got to pay $4,300, which is the amount that was paid as enforced support by the state over an 8-year period. 8 years. So I guarantee you that this lady and her husband paid a lot more to raise this child for 8 years than $4,300. Guaranteed. Because if you figure that out on a weekly basis, you pay more to take care of a goldfish. That is the difference that the state had to pick up. You, madam, this is your problem. You're responsible for this money. You pay it. Case dismissed.
All these are excused. You may step out.
I hate you, you know that?
Is this yours?
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
And I had no clue I was an absent parent. I thought they adopted her. I agreed up on all their terms to only visit when they said.
That's not true.
That
I
is
called
true.
her right after I got the papers that
No, you
Fillmore
did
was her
not call
father.
me. I was in a drug
and told
treatment.
her
Didn't know where you were, lady.
That
Didn't know where
she
you
just
were.
stopped the case because it would have to go through the tribe.
What about the fact that your daughter is my dad's real daughter, Vicky, huh? What about that fact? You're my aunt and my cousin is my sister. What about that one? You don't want to bring the dirty laundry on this air? Your daughter is my sister, which is my cousin.
Your Honor, this is case number 123 on the calendar in the matter of Rigos versus Gomez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Don't cry yet. I haven't started. Okay, before we start, Miss Rigos, relax. Mr. Gomez, you were engaged to be married to Miss Rigos' mother. Is that right?
True, yes.
Lived together for a while?
Yes, we were.
And unfortunately,
About 4 years.
Unfortunately, she died very suddenly and at a young age. She was 52, according to your complaint. The plaintiff is her daughter, and she says that there's certain property of her mother's that she wants that's in your possession. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
And $5,000, I understand. And $5,000?
Not in $5,000.
I'm not interested in the money, Your Honor.
No, she says she just wants the property back. That was her mother's. Ms. Rigos, I read Mr. Gomez's answer to your complaint, and I must tell you that based upon his answer, I haven't spoken to him yet, he seems like a very nice man.
I don't doubt that.
And my sense from reading his answer is that he loved your mother very much.
I did, very much, yes.
What are these things that you want of your mother's?
Well, in the beginning, it was mainly just, you know, certain momentums that been in the family a long time.
He gave you back most of the things, or many of the things that were your mother's.
He came over, he didn't give me personally, he came over to my brother's house a month and a half ago, and it was just a couple of boxes with her shoes, 2 bags of clothes, which is not even a hole in the closet with my mom, because she loved clothes. And old pictures that my mother had from when we were young in our old country in Europe and Michigan when we were growing up. That's it.
What's the old country?
In Malta.
So he gave you back the mementos, those photographs and things that were irreplaceable.
He gave me those, yes. Well, he gave them to my brother.
You're the brother?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. So tell me what things you want.
There's just certain other things, pictures.
Tell me so that he'll know, and maybe we won't have a problem.
Well, my brother has 4 children, I have 2, and there's just certain things there that, you know, pictures, things that my kids bought, you know, their grandma, you know, for birthdays, Mother's Day.
Like what? Tell me. Because he has to know what things.
My mother was infatuated by clothes. She was a very short woman, and she loved clothes and shoes. That's what we bought her. We bought her lots of clothes, lots of shoes, come birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas. There's certain things that my son has there that Jose has had there. It'll be 5 years this Christmas, which is a little Harley motorcycle that my sister-in-law bought my son. And my mother wanted to stay there for a couple months, and it lasted there all these years. And my son called him in April and asked him if he could get it. And there's just other things that are there that are mine. You know, my sewing machine, which he had brought over after he got served, you know.
So he brought you back the sewing machine?
The sewing machine. He didn't bring me the plug, so I have no use for it right now. But he just brought the sewing machine over after he got served. But he told my son in April, tell your mother that I sold her things to pay the bills. And I couldn't understand that. I couldn't even understand why he would tell a little 10-year-old that. You know, he has not gotten a hold of me, you know, and he won't talk to me. You know, I've tried talking with him. We had a great relationship, me, him, and my mother. Anytime there was problems with them, you know, I was there. I was the mediator.
Okay, Mr. Gomez.
Well, first of all, the reason why I didn't talk to her, she had an unlisted telephone number, so I couldn't get it. And she wouldn't give me the number, so I couldn't do that. And the only thing that I feel I'm guilty of is loving her mother. I love my Carmen tremendously. She loved me 10 times more than I loved her.
It says here in the papers that you lent her money to start a business.
Yes, I did.
Some kind of beauty?
It was a facial business. She wanted, see, as far as money is concerned, I had no problem with that, especially with her. When after a year that I met her, her mother died in Malta. She had no way to get there. So it was costing me about $2,000. I sent her over there because she was heartbroken. I mean, just here's her mother. She loved her mother dearly, and she had no way to get there.
So you gave her the money to
I gave her the money. I didn't ask for it back.
Okay.
And then when she came back, she asked me that, I told her to come back and we'll live together, and she asked me if I could help her start a business. I said, what's it going to be? So she told me. I said, fine. So I went up to, I borrowed the money from our savings. I said to her, we were going to get married, so I said, well, I'd like for you to pay it back, and I was also paying into it, paying 3 times more than she was in a month. And I said, because it's for our retirement. And she said, it's fine. This is all it's going to be for. That's why I wanted her to pay back while we could.
Was she working at the time too?
She was doing, yes, a little bit. She was working somewhat. I never kept track of what she made or anything like that.
Okay. So
I have a log that says that she was paying me too. She's paying, every month.
Towards the equipment?
For the equipment.
And you ultimately sold the equipment according to your papers at a loss?
Which was, yes. When you sell things out of a garage, they don't give you anything for it. Found that out.
So how much did you lose dollar-wise?
How much did I lose? About $3,000 or something.
That's what it said here, that the equipment was $6,000, you'd paid about $3,000 off. You have any reason to doubt that?
No, we didn't mess with it with my mother's equipment. We know that he had signed for it, but she was paying him every month.
Okay. And it also says here, Mr. Gomez, that you and the plaintiff and another brother split the cost for the funeral expenses. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Is that true? You know, technically, by law, Mr. Gomez has no responsibility to contribute to those funeral expenses. You know that. I assume he did it because he loved your mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He never loved my mother. She was miserable because of his daughter. Okay? You didn't bring that fact up, and I'm tired of this bullshit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Gomez was engaged to marry Regues's mother, Carmen. They both loved her deeply, but are now in court fighting over who gets Carmen's personal mementos.
What I'm trying to tell you is, from his answer, it doesn't sound as if he's a bad guy. Would you agree with that too?
I have an opinion, but I don't know if it counts. It's just that even though he put in his share into the business with my mom, she has done her part. Contribution towards the home that they lived in, contribution towards the business she built.
Well, just a sec. What he's saying is he took out a loan for the equipment.
Yes, I understand that, but the loan came from her too.
I know, but so much of it hadn't been paid back that he's now responsible.
We haven't seen that. We don't know what that is.
I believe that that's true, sir. I believe that that's true. It's my job to determine whether somebody is a credible witness. Yes, sir.
One more question I have. If he would have, many times as I try to meet with him, breakfast, meetings and whatever, if he would have just brought out the paperwork, I didn't want him to go alone on this. The same way I accepted him to help me in the funeral, the same way I accepted his beliefs, what my mom wanted for her funeral. The same thing I did everything for the picture when he took it out of my house on the evening when we had family in my house. That is the only picture I had in front of the flowers to show the people that who she was. He had to take it the same night. It's just, and I was nice, I let him go with it. I mean, there was
You mean this was his photo, just a second. This was his photograph of your mother.
This is mine.
Just a second. This was his photograph of your mother.
Yes, but it's our frame.
You weren't interested in the frame. You were interested in the photograph.
We are, Your Honor. We are. That's a momentum that's been going on through our family.
He'll give you back the frame if it's your frame. What you were upset about, what your brother says you were upset about, was the photograph. So you had the photograph displayed.
The way he did it, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
In front of all my family.
You had the
grabbed it by the hand and walked out like no respect. Didn't even come to ask me.
Let me tell you something, sir.
Don't you think I hurt too?
Well, I do. I do. I think that you all have to understand that when somebody dies, everybody feels sad. I thought about this a lot over the last 20 years, whenever I've had family, friends, and in my own life. Losing somebody that you love very much, especially when they're very young. Parent, a mate. Anger is a much easier emotion to deal with than pain. I want you to think about that for a minute. It's much easier when somebody dies to be angry at somebody else than to get in touch with your own feeling and feel the pain and the loss, which is why after somebody dies, it's so often in families, they fight with each other over stupid things. A pair of shoes, a dress, because it's much easier when you, especially if your mom was 52 years old and she died totally unexpectedly, to be angry. You know, why did this happen? So you get angry at somebody. I think you look like lovely people. I think he's a lovely man who took on a responsibility even when he didn't have to. He clearly loved your mother, and he made her happy. He made her, I mean, they were going to get married, so he made her happy. So are you prepared to give them back the things that they want?
Yes, what the little motorcycles you can buy.
No, I have a
if
list
that's
here.
what happened,
I
then
want
he,
all
they
my
can
mother's
have them.
things.
Just a second. Well, let me have this. I'm not sure
I want
whether
everything she went in with. I mean, in the beginning, you know, I abide by his wishes. We all did. He said, give me a couple months. I don't want to part with your mother's things. We abide by it.
No, listen to me.
He wanted half of my mother's ashes, which is immoral.
Listen to me. You lived with her for 4 years?
Yes, I did.
No.
How long?
Approximately 4 years.
How long?
Lived together?
Yes.
A little over 2.5 years.
Okay, and you had a home together. Is that right?
Yes, we did.
You have things in your like kitchen, toaster oven, and a dinette set. Why would you think a white hutch from the dining room? Why
that hutch was my son's. And I feel that...
How could a hutch be your son's?
No, it was a desk. It was a brown desk with what it's called a hutch.
Yeah.
And my brother is a painter. He went over there. He made it look nice for her in her kitchen. He painted it white.
When was this?
This was just before she passed away.
No, he didn't go to her house. That was their home.
I went to her house to paint it.
Not her home, their home.
I see, I understand.
Yeah,
their home. They lived together.
I
They had a
understand.
home together. They were engaged. They were planning to be married.
Yes.
Stop with the nonsense, folks.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I loved her very, very much. It's just...
What are you going to do when another woman comes into your life, Jose? You're going to leave the slippers and
not
the
thinking
pantyhose on
about
the
that.
floor like you have been? That is stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Rago says her late mother Carmen wanted her to keep her personal possessions after she died. But Carmen's fiancé, Jose Gomez, says he should get to keep some of the items.
You want to take out furniture from a home that your mother set up with this man? That's outrageous. He was not a bad person. He cared for her.
We didn't say he
I
was,
could
right?
understand you saying to me, I want the things that belong to my mother, the photographs. My mother had perfume. You have here. She had knickknacks in the hutch. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is, sir? The
No.
knickknacks that are in the hutch?
No.
What knickknacks that are in the hutch?
China's a little plate, anything from that belongs to my mom. What's
It's
the
not
reason
worth
for him to
anything.
keep
It's
it?
just, it's you know, it's hers.
The
We
way
got
I
it for
feel,
her.
he's gonna go on with his life. He has no reason. He remembered my mom for 7 months so far. He has to continue with his life and go on with a new future.
Sir,
but we
this
have
is-
to remember what we have by holding what we got.
Fine. Sir, I'm going to tell you what I expect you to turn over to them. I've looked at this list. There are pictures and frames of grandchildren and family. I expect you to turn that over to them. Okay?
Yes.
You have those things?
I have the pictures, the frames that I paid for the frames, so I took them out of the frames.
You paid
I
for
have
the green
pic-
frames that are in the bedroom?
Yes.
I bought those with my mother in Target.
There was a lot
Listen,
of green,
the
green
rainbow.
frames.
Listen to
talking
me.
about the rainbow
Listen to me.
pictures.
The frames are
It's
not
only
important.
$3.
I don't
The
want the
frames are not
frames.
important.
They're not
The
important.
pictures
The
are
pictures.
important.
That's
If you
right,
want
I
to
have
give
the
them back in the frames, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay? So that you're going to give back. Now, do you have this motorcycle model?
I will give that back. I have it. The only reason why I'm keeping it is I thought that her mother gave it to me because at one time that on Christmas, we had a little spat. So she said, don't buy me anything for Christmas. And knowing her, she knew that I would not accept anything from her. So she said, I've got this motorcycle that's Johnny's and I'm going to leave it here. And I was under the impression that it's the only way she knew I was going to keep it. It was there.
Okay.
Now, if
You're
it's
gonna-
not for me, then I do not want it.
Fine.
period.
Then I want you to give it back to them. That's
Wonderful.
Listen. These knickknacks in the hutch that she's talking about, you know, these little plates and dishes and things that she brought into your relationship. Do you know what they are?
I don't really, it's been a while and I'm not sure as to which, you know, what
I
they're
want you to
talking
look
about.
through it.
I'll look through 'em.
Whatever you see there, pack up nicely that belongs, that she had, that from her history. I
Right.
want you to pack up and see to it that her children get. Will you do that?
I'll do that.
Did you bring any of these things with you to court, sir?
Yes, I did. I brought.
Okay. But did you bring the clothes and other things?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and they're all here.
Yes, they're. I left them there someplace.
And you're prepared to
I
take
brought
them?
back more pictures too.
And you're prepared to take them today?
Lots of that.
Okay, so this is not a very difficult case. It's going to give you back those things.
What about my dish set? I want my dish set and my plug to my sewing machine.
It's in the box.
The dish set is?
I didn't know it was there. I saw it and I said, "Oh, this goes to the sewing machine."
Ms. Rigos, you still sound very angry.
I am.
I'm going to tell you something. I don't think that you should be angry. I really don't. I mean, your mother stayed in this relationship. You may have thought it wasn't perfect. I don't know whether you thought it was perfect or it wasn't perfect. But she was a 52-year-old young lady who may have visited with her children, but her day-to-day life was with this man.
And that's what she said.
For better, for worse, they were a couple. And you should be happy that your mother, from the time she was 48 or whatever she was, I don't know, was she divorced from your father or did he pass away?
Divorced a long time ago.
21 years.
21 years divorced until she met him?
Yes.
Well, there was
He
others.
sounds like a nice guy to me.
I have no.
So I don't know, Ms. Rigos, why you're angry, unless it's what I'm thinking and what I said to you before, that anger is a much easier emotion to deal with than pain. She didn't have a love in her life for 21 years. She met this man. They started a business together. They planned a wedding. Well, he helped her with a business. They planned a wedding. They planned to get married, so that your mother must have felt at least she had a companion of her own. Stop being so angry. Get in touch with your own feelings. If it's sadness, get over it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You return the things to her, sir?
Yes, I will.
You sound like a nice guy. She wants the picture frame.
The only thing I would like to keep this, but, and as I told Mario, that this is what she gave me. She had this on the back of it. She says, "I gave you this picture."
Oh,
you can keep the picture.
Carmen.
Oh, let me see
She
that.
gave me, when she...
Just a minute. You mean Carmen gave you that picture in the frame?
She gave me this whole thing. And the way I see it, I don't see it as a frame. I see it just as a picture,
second.
whatever. She had that on there, and she just says, "I give you that."
Just a minute.
It was stuck in the back of here.
Just a second.
That's the way she writes. She's only had a 5th grade education. That's
Am I correct? He didn't bring over this picture when your mother died. He brought over the whole thing, the picture with the frame.
Yes.
He
For the
brought that
funeral,
over.
yes, he brought it over.
He
That's
brought
what I
that
took
over.
over there, exactly.
That's his, not yours.
That's mine.
That's his. And you keep it, sir.
Thank you very much.
You got to get over your anger.
This means very,
Pretty lady.
very, very much to me.
Pretty lady. Okay.
Thank you.
Give me back their things. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I have 2 little blouses that really remind me of her, and I have a pair of shoes slippers that she took off, and I never touched them yet. I just leave them there. I loved her very, very much, and it's just.
What are you going to do when another woman comes into your life, Jose? You're going to leave the slippers and the pantyhose on the floor like you have been? That is stupid.
What if I die before a woman comes to my life?
You are so stupid.
Can I see the note?
I want to see that note my mother left you. Maria, you got nothing to do with this. I saw you twice in the 4 years, okay?
Where's
So
the
stay
note?
out
I
of
wanna see
it.
the note for this.
Stay out of it.
Why did you have never showed me the note when I told you about this?
That's right, I'm angry. I'm angry. Yes, I am angry. He never loved my mother. She was miserable because of his daughter. Okay? You didn't bring that fact up, and I'm tired of this. You had the nerve to bring your daughter to my mother's funeral. That was uncalled for. Uncalled for, Jose.
Flyers in her neighborhood accusing her of being a child abuser. Denise says the flyers are true.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter of Harder versus Novo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mrs. Harder, the defendant, according to your papers, is the present girlfriend of your former husband.
Correct.
Who you allege defamed you
Yes.
in your community by slandering you and by publishing flyers demeaning your character and saying things about your children.
Yes.
Well, is this the ex-husband?
Yes.
Do you not get along with each other?
No.
You don't get along with him and you don't get along with her?
No. I get along with him if she's not involved.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
9 and 6.
And how long have you been divorced?
6 years.
So you were married for a short period of time.
5 years.
Tell me about this defamation.
I have a copy of the flyer right here. I moved into a new home October of '96, and in February, my neighbors came to me, 3 separate neighbors came to me on one Sunday afternoon and said that prior to me moving in, a strange woman had gone through the neighborhood, knocked on the door, and handed out these flyers.
Can I see them, please? Stop. I've read your answer. Now, according to your answer, you don't deny that you went up to some of the neighbors in the new place where she was moving in and had conversations with them, correct?
Correct.
All right. You didn't discuss these flyers in your answer, but I assume these flyers are flyers that you gave to them. Is that correct?
1. Correct.
So why don't you explain why?
They were meant for a telephone pole.
What?
They were meant for a telephone pole in the neighborhood because we were concerned for the children.
Who was concerned for what children?
I, myself, and the father of the children were very concerned of situations that the children were discussing with both I and the father about some abuse towards them from their mother and the mother's boyfriend.
Step up here.
And we can no longer turn our cheek.
Step up here. You have concerns about your children, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you go to the family court?
I went to the family.
You went to the family court?
No, I didn't go to the family court. I called Child Protective Service.
I didn't ask you if you called Child Protective Services. You chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
Get rid of it. I said if you are concerned about your children, why didn't you go to the family court and say, I am concerned about my children, and I think that perhaps we should entertain a different kind of custody arrangement for the children. Why didn't you do that?
I did do that. I went to mediation.
Good.
A mediation.
Good. And what happened as a result of the mediation?
What happened in mediation?
Yes.
What happened in mediation?
Try to remember, sir, they're your children. Did you
I
get
know
your
they're
children?
my children.
Did you get your children?
Yes, I did get my children.
So you got custody of your children?
Right.
So then
No, I
what are we
didn't get
doing
custody
here?
of my-
No.
I didn't get custody.
Just a second.
I didn't get custody of them. I got visitation.
Good. Now, after you had visitation with your children, according to your girlfriend, the two of you became very concerned about the children's welfare.
Right.
So why didn't you go back to court and say, circumstances have changed. I would like to have a hearing with regard to custody of my children. I would like my children to have their own attorney that they can speak to, right? And resolve the matter in an orderly fashion as you did with your visitation request. Why didn't you do that?
Well, the man that I was talking to, the mediator, he said if there was any problems to come back and talk to him. There was a statement that he issued, and it was a court order, that she not degrade me in front of the kids and to leave me alone.
Degrading you in front of the children.
Right.
That's your primary concern.
No, it's not my primary concern, but these children are going, they're not, how do you say it? Excuse me, I'm not well spoken. But my children are going through hell right now.
You think that this makes it better?
Well, I think I've already gone to the Child Protective Services. I went to school. Nobody
If you
else
went to
would help
Child
me.
Protective Services, that means that Child Protective Services did an investigation.
Yes, they did.
And did they take any action?
No, they didn't.
And how many times did you go to Child Protective Services?
3 times.
And of the 3 times that you went there, was any action taken, any case filed against their mother?
There's an open case, but nothing was filed against her.
And the children remain in her care?
Yes.
Do you have any children, madam?
Yes, I do.
Where are they?
She's 17 years old.
That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you how old she is. I said, where is she?
She's at home waiting for a job interview.
At home where?
In Santa Barbara.
Is that where you live?
Yes, that is.
So she lives with the 2 of you?
Yes, she does.
She finished school?
No, she hasn't.
Why not?
She's a junior in high school.
I don't understand what you mean. She's waiting for a job interview.
She has independent studies.
Why?
I pulled her out of the school system.
Why?
I don't like the high school near my home.
Mm-hmm. Is that your only child?
Yes, it is.
And when did you pull her out of school? How old was she?
September of 96.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been living in the same place, sir?
Since... No, it's... What?
Don't ask her.
Well, I'm not good with dates, excuse me.
You're not good with language and you're not good with dates. What are you good at?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you ever pull your kids out of school, Bird, to put them in independent studies?
No, Judge, not
I
at
had
all.
5 kids. I never pulled my kids out of school for independent studies.
And later today,
when I started expressing my concerns, she sent me socks saying that I had cold feet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 33-year-old Jackie Harder is charging her ex-husband's new girlfriend, Denise Novo, with defamation of character. Jackie says when she moved into a new neighborhood, Denise passed out flyers to the neighbors, falsely accusing her of being a child abuser. Denise says that it's true.
You two must be very smart people in order to teach this child yourself. He doesn't know dates, he doesn't know anything, and you do this. This is outrageous! This is outrageous! You are a mean, vindictive woman who could do this. She's moving into a new place. You didn't get what you want when you call Child Protective Services. They conduct no less than 3 investigations against her. They find absolutely no basis to remove the children, so you decide to make a little trouble, make her life a little bit miserable. And you go around before she moves into the community, and you plaster things up around the community. She says she gave it out to people. Genius over here says it was supposed to be on telephone poles. All right? I want to tell you something. If I were the family court judge, not a mediator, but if I were the family court judge who was deciding visitation with your children, you, sir, would see your children under a supervised visitation arrangement only. And I am a very serious proponent of fathers having as unrestricted quality time, if they are not the custodial parents of children, as is possible, because I always believe that that's in a child's best interest, to have the love and companionship of both biological parents. It's always been my view. I'm a serious proponent of that, but not, sir, when you live with this kind of witch. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Whatever counterclaim there is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Licht versus Water. Step forward, please.
42-year-old Reverend Howard Licht is suing his former fiancée, 39-year-old Stephanie Warder, for not returning the engagement ring after they called off their wedding. Stephanie says she was embarrassed by his change of heart.
Simple case. You are Reverend Licht?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Warder, according to these papers, you became engaged to each other. That's correct. You purchased an engagement ring for the defendant. You changed your mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Called off the wedding. Want the ring back.
Yes.
That's pretty simple. How long were you engaged before you changed your mind, sir?
A couple of months, Your Honor.
Why don't you think 4 months? All right, Miss Warden, Water, is that the way you pronounce it, Water? Why don't you tell me why you think he is not entitled to his ring back?
Well, after he proposed to me and I said yes, I started planning for the wedding. I bought a wedding dress, hired a wedding coordinator, worked on getting the tuxes and the bridal dresses. I had my whole church involved in planning this wedding. And then he calls it off, but doesn't really call it off. He says, well, why don't we just postpone the wedding? It's okay, we can do that. But then he never would talk to me, with no communications whatsoever. Every time I tried to talk to him, he would be abrupt with me, sure, had something else to do. And I thought we were trying to work this out.
Did you know why he had called off the wedding or why he wanted to postpone it?
He said that he didn't like the way I talked to waiters and waitresses.
Is that the reason you gave her?
That was among other things, yes. At one point, we had a discussion about her having her hair done, and I was curious. She had told me that she had a speaking relationship with her stylist, and I said, well, what did your stylist think about the hairstyle you wanted? And she told me in no uncertain terms that her stylist had nothing to do with her decision. She was capable of making decisions on her own. It took me aback. I work with a lot of people. I listen to a lot of professional opinions, and while I may not always follow those opinions, when I make my decision, they are informed. I just began to think about what's the marriage going to be like if she makes all the decisions without any input.
I did have input from people, but the final decision is mine when it deals with my hair or something that deals with me, my car, my house, or whatever, because I am the one that has to live with those decisions.
Have you been married before?
No, I have never been married before.
But you have, sir?
Yes.
Never
According
been
to
engaged.
these papers, a couple of times.
Yes, ma'am.
And engaged a few more times.
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
I was going to ask, but as long as you did.
Well, there have been a number of engagements.
Altogether, how many times?
I would say probably 7 or 8 different times.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He would get me upset about this or wanting to talk, and then of course it was time to go to bed because he had to get up and preach the next morning.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Stephanie Warder says when her fiancé, 42-year-old Reverend Howard Licht, broke off their engagement, she had already spent hundreds of dollars planning the wedding. So she kept the engagement ring to help make up for the loss.
Miss Warder, how much did you actually spend on planning the wedding? Your dress, things that you could not return.
I spent probably with the dress and the plane tickets to fly down to visit him, around $1,000.
I'm not talking about the plane tickets to fly down to visit him. I'm talking about you paid for your dress.
Right.
Were you able to get the money back?
No.
And how much was the dress?
$640.
And did you give any money to your wedding coordinator?
No, because she was a friend of mine and she decided not to.
That's not a big deal.
I've never been married before. I've never been engaged before either. This was the time that I was going to do it. I was 39 years old when he proposed to me. I didn't think I should have any problem about taking the wedding dress back because this was going to be it.
When you accepted this ring, did you know that he had been married twice before?
Yes, I did.
When you accepted the ring, did you know that he had been engaged 8 times before?
Yes, I did. But I also decided that I should not hold his past against him.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you hold his past against him, but when somebody has an argument with you because they don't like the way you talk to your hairdresser, I would suggest to you that there's a problem.
That was after the engagement, not before.
You mean after you were engaged already?
Right.
You're probably lucky. Where's the ring?
I don't have the ring.
Where is it?
It's at home in a safe place. I'm keeping the ring because he gave it to me. It's very important. It meant a whole lot to me.
What do you plan on doing with it, Miss Warder?
Wearing it on my right hand. It's a nice dinner ring.
Good. How much did you pay for the ring, sir?
$2,200.
You paid $2,200? Let me see the receipt. Now, Miss Water, I'm not going to send a posse to your house to get the ring. It's up to you. But if, you know...
I'm not going to give this ring back.
Well, then you're going to have to pay for it, madam. Listen to me.
So
let me explain why to you, because I think that that's fair. There's a difference between a broken engagement and breaking up a marriage. This guy clearly has some problems. If he makes a big Megillah over your hairstylist, that's not somebody that I, after waiting 39 years, would want to hang my hopes on for a happy future. So you're probably very lucky that it ended when it did after 4 months. The fact that it was an embarrassment to you, I can understand. But an engagement ring is given as a promise, as sort of a contract in anticipation of getting married.
I did not break that contract.
I understand that. It doesn't make any difference. In my view, it doesn't make any difference because whoever breaks the contract, both parties are usually better off. I mean, are you suggesting to me that you would have wanted to have married this man, gone through with the ceremony, and found out what you know about him now 3 or 4 or 5 weeks after you got married, or 5 months after you got married, or perhaps after you had children together? Come on, be smart. You're getting away cheap. So, in my view, irrespective of whose fault it is, of who's willing to stand up and say...
Why should he get back everything when I am the one who's the loser here?
Just a second. I'm going to see to it that you get back the money for your dress. That's going to be deducted from the cost of the ring. Absolutely. Now, if you're prepared to give him back the ring, I'm prepared to enter a judgment against him for the cost of the dress. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Because I don't think that because he changed his mind, you should find yourself in a position of being out financially. Doesn't that sound fair?
Yeah, the humiliation that goes along with it, too.
Well, but you know, you have to balance the humiliation, Miss Water.
Yeah, my whole church knew.
I know.
His church did not know. Even my mailman knew that I was getting married. This was very important to me.
I understand. Would you have preferred to have married him? And then been wife number 3?
At this moment, no.
There you go. So that's the answer.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your Honor, will that be a monetary judgment for the balance?
Well, unless I can convince Miss Water that she should give up this ring because it's going to be a constant reminder of this very bad period of time.
It is not a reminder of bad times for me. It's a reminder of all the good times for me.
Okay.
I am not giving it back.
Very good. I am deducting the $640 for her wedding dress, sir. $1,560 for the plaintiff. Consider yourself lucky, Miss Water. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't even believe in him as a minister anymore. He cannot be a minister and act the way that he's been doing. He does not practice what he preaches.
He says she kicked him first.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Your Honor, this is case number 233 on the calendar in the matter of Oshrin versus Stimson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am, sir.
All right, this case involves a traffic dispute. Miss Oshrin, you look like an otherwise intelligent lady. Got yourself involved with this dispute. You want to tell me about it, please?
It was Saturday night, and I was going to get dinner for my husband. I was waiting at a left-hand turn on Sherman Way, which is a busy street.
What kind of a car were you driving?
I was driving a rental car. It was a little Mercury Mystique, I believe. And I was sitting there waiting for traffic to go. There was 2 more cars that needed to go by. It was a little distance between, but not enough. And while I was sitting there, another car came up and started blaring on the horn at me. Didn't let off, so I waited, made my turn. The car tailgated me and followed me into the parking lot where I was going, which was another left in there. And so I turned down the first row of cars, you know, trying to go where I needed to go and get out of the way. And started to go towards the right, and car, you know, kind of punched it a little bit to the right, so I just stopped, figuring, go around me, I'm not moving. And I had
And it was the same car that had been blowing
it was the same one tailgating
the horn.
me.
What kind of car was that?
Well, I couldn't tell until it was later, and it was a '81 Toyota truck. Little pickup. It was small.
Driver.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
And so anyway, then when I stopped, I had a dog in the car that I was trying to adopt, and so I checked on the dog just because she's nervous anyway. And when I looked up, there was, you know, the defendant was walking down towards me, you know, towards my car. So I locked the door, and he came up, kneeled down, and told me I got my license from a Cracker Jack box. And so he kneeled there for a second, paused, he got up, and leaned forward and spit through the crack I had in my window in my face. So, and then he turned around and walked back, and I got out to get his license plate. His car was parked like maybe an inch off of mine, and what I could see, there was no plate. So I started to walk back, and when I started to walk, he turned around again, and so I yelled at him for spitting in my face, and he turned around, we ended up in a kicking fight. He started kicking me, so I kicked him back, and finally I just, you know, I didn't kick it, but I pushed the door with my foot, which, because it was at an angle and he was on one side, and it pushed him back into the truck. So I went back to my car, and as I was walking back to the car, he came up and grabbed me by the shoulder and kind of pushed me and started to beat up the car, tried kicking my car. Then he turned around and came at me again. So, you know, he ended up spitting in my face. So I was holding him back because he was walking at me. And by the time we kind of did like a circle and came back by the car, and the car was on the side of me. So I was, you know, while I'm holding him back, there was a girl that came walking down from the other side, you know, quickly at us. So I glanced at her, and when I glanced at her, he hit me in the jaw. So.
And then what happened?
Well, my head went that way, and then I turned around and I ducked. And when I did that, I ended up ripping his shirt because I was still holding. And somebody grabbed my arm, you know, for the other direction. So I went that way, and when I looked up, he had 4 or 5 people holding him back. So I went back again to try to get the license plate, and I guess they let him go because I was probably about halfway down there, and he came back and he started pushing me, and I walked like a big circle to the back, and finally got the plate, you know, and he turned around and left once he realized, I guess, what I got.
All right. What kind of medical costs did you have?
I've got chiropractic and for my jaw. It was actually, it's a specialist. He went through 2 referrals to get to it. He wants, together they're like 44, 60 something, 64 right now. Here's another one. This goes with it. That's all, everything. The bill's right behind it.
I have a lot of questions to ask you.
Okay.
The first one that comes to my mind, as a woman, if some nut comes up to your car and you know that he's been tailgating you, and I don't think that there's any question that he was tailing you, because I read your complaint and I read his answer. So common sense suggests to me he was annoyed, honking his horn. You live in California? It's surprising. People in California don't blow their horns a lot. People in New York blow their horns if you know, delayed a split second. Here, everybody sort of hangs out and gives you a chance. I found the drivers here very polite. So, where are you from?
California.
Well, you didn't learn the rules, sir. The rules are you're not supposed to honk your horn.
I beeped my horn briefly. I did not lay on the horn.
I didn't say lay on the horn. I said honk your horn. You honked your horn.
Yes, I did. If someone sits at a green light with no oncoming cars for a good 10 to 15 seconds, they either have car problems or they're just ignorant.
Well, maybe she had car problems.
She obviously didn't.
Ooh. I'll get to you in a minute. It's going to be interesting. I'm not finished with you yet because I'm trying to figure out whether you have all your screws.
Okay.
He comes up to your car, says something that is, it's aggressive. It's aggressive because he stopped his car, he's gotten out of his car, he's approached your car, and you don't know whether he's a nut, right? Somebody dangerous, or just a flake, right? You have your window open a little bit. According to you, he spits in your face. And you get out of the car?
Yeah, I did.
Who are you?
I'm Dan Moran. I witnessed what happened that night.
Wonderful. Perfect. You would agree with me, Mr. Moran, that that's pretty stupid.
That was my first question.
Perfect. For that, you don't have an answer.
No. Well, I wanted his plate.
Your life is more important than his license plate.
True.
And then, after he's put his hands on you, after he struck you in the jaw, after all of that, you still wanted his plate.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to tell you something. Somebody spits at me, and you had a lot more than a couple of scratches on your body. A lot!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Carolyn Oshrin is suing 31-year-old Frank Stimson for assault during a traffic dispute. Frank admits he insulted Carolyn, but denies her allegations of assault.
Now your version.
I drove up to the light. She was at the light in front of me, a green light. No traffic was oncoming at that time. I waited for about 10 to 15 seconds. I beeped my horn briefly. She pulled forward approximately 5 to 10 feet and slammed on her brakes. I waited, kind of scratched my head and said, wow, what's that about? She pulled forward through the intersection after that, and when she got into the crosswalk on the other side, she slammed on her brakes again. I sat in the middle of the street with the car coming towards the passenger side of my car, and then the same thing happened again in the next driveway. She consistently tried to get me to rear-end her.
No, she wasn't. She was probably trying to irritate you. This lady, what do you think? She's a scam artist? She's trying to get you to rear-end her? No, she was trying to irritate you like you irritated her.
She's driving a rental car. She doesn't care about the car. She wants money. That's why we're here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let me hear.
When we got in the parking lot, she moved along at a snail's pace.
Just a second. How many lanes are there in the parking lot?
There's one going forward and one going the opposite way.
So there's only one way that you could have gone? Is that what you're telling me? Because there's a witness here.
Yes. There's
only one lane that you can go to.
No, I was following her because I wanted to ask her why she was trying to get me to hit her.
That's right. So you were following her?
At that point, yes.
Okay. Why were you following her?
Why was I following her? Because we were both happened to be going the same way at the time. I was going in to develop some film. I don't know why she pulled in the parking lot.
Just a second. You don't... Stupid isn't written here. You just told me that you were following her. That's what you told me. You could have avoided the confrontation by just going in a different direction. So, you stopped your truck, and you got out of your truck, and you walked over to her side, to the driver's window. And what happened at the driver's window?
I had asked her if she got her driver's license out of a Cracker Jack box.
And she said?
She didn't say anything. She just stared at me and laughed.
And what did you do?
I laughed back. I told her that she was kind of a ridiculous driver, acting like a child, and she should go get a real driver's license.
Did you spit at her?
No, I did not.
Oh, I think you're lying.
I did not. I may have used lots of profanity, but I did not spit at her.
Well, you may have used lots of profanity.
I was kind of upset. Anytime someone tries to get rear-ended, something's wrong with them. I told her what I thought.
She wasn't trying to get rear-ended, sir.
She was. If you do this 5 to 6 times, slam on your brakes, that's not normal.
You know what's not normal? Not normal is looking for trouble. Now,
that's what she was doing.
No. Listen to me.
Yes.
You started it. continued it. Right?
Okay.
Is that right? You were annoyed that he honked his horn. Correct?
Yeah, I was annoyed.
So that when you got to the intersection, when you made your turn, and he was following you, you figured, I'm going to give him a little bit of agita. And you slowed down. Is that right?
I went slow because it wasn't far to turn.
Yeah. And you went slow because you knew that he was behind you. That's what happened. Right?
Yeah, but there's another lane there too, so.
I understand that. He could have gone around you.
Yeah.
He didn't want to. So you were being dumb.
Okay.
And he was being dumb. So, I don't think you would have gotten out of your car if he had not spit at you.
Nope.
Because there would have been no basis for her, sir, to try at that point to get your plate. None whatsoever. So I believe that you spit at her while using profanity. Now,
I used lots of profanity. I
step
did
up
not
here, sir.
spit.
Yes,
Do you
ma'am.
know this lady?
No, I don't.
Do you know this gentleman?
No, I don't.
I'm going to settle this right now. Tell me what you saw.
When I was finished doing my shopping there in the center, I have a convertible car, so I saw everything. It was very unusual. They were making a left turn into the parking lot from Sherman Way into the driveway. It's a very short distance. I see these two cars come in, and the guy was no further than this far behind her, bumper, right on her butt, right on the bumper. He gets out, and at first I'm thinking, well, is this like from a movie? It's like, it was so surreal that, well, it must be a couple, they must be fighting, a domestic dispute, something like that. But what happened, this guy gets out of his car and starts screaming at her. She's got a little crack like that in the window, and I'm like, what is this? And he spits at her, puts a big old loogie on her, and I at first I said, well, when I saw her get out of the car, I thought, well, it must be a domestic thing. Hey, I got on the cell phone, I called the police right away, and then all of a sudden there's 5 other guys on top of this dude trying to restrain him from beating her up. And I don't blame her for jumping out of her car. This guy was totally out of control, very out of line. So
See what happens? Sometimes you have an independent witness, sir.
he is not an independent witness.
Oh, tell
Nobody
me.
put their hands on me.
Just a
but
second.
Her.
Just a second.
I should be able to state the rest of my case.
I'm going to let you. I just want you to listen to him before you state the rest of your case.
How close
he
was
doesn't
he?
know. He doesn't know.
How can he
Hey,
see any of this?
He just told you. He was in his convertible car. He saw exactly how you came in. Is that right, sir?
The cars were no further than the edge
And
of
how
that
far
table
away were
there.
you?
I was right to the right side of it. So I saw all
And you were the one who called the police.
from my cell phone, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You got to go on the women's wrestling team, man. You have a nice day.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 27-year-old Carolyn Oshrin and Frank Stimson are in court after a traffic dispute turned violent. Both motorists claim they were assaulted during their argument in a parking lot.
Mr. Stimson, tell me the rest of your case, sir.
Okay, so when I started walking away after I gave her a piece of my mind, not my lungs, I started walking away. She exited her car, ran towards me. I backed up. She ran over and kicked the side of my truck. I said, if that's what you want to do, I went over and kicked her car. She said, it's not my car anyway, ha, 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 and started yelling and screaming at me. She came at me. She tried to kick me approximately 20 to 30 times, at least, swinging at me. At one point, she got a hold of my shirt and she socked me in the face. At that point, and only at that point, did I raise a hand and I pushed her away to try to get away from her. And I have a witness sitting right here who watched the whole thing also.
Step up. Name?
Marcia Gerard. We were just like, we were turning left, and it was a long time before she did turn. And she did make a couple of breaks before she entered the driveway, and then stopped at the crosswalk. Then we followed her in, or Frank followed her in, turned left, and followed right behind her. He did get out of the car, went to her, and I...
Just a second. Now you're in the car. What is he saying to you as he's pulling up behind her?
He's just saying, what is wrong? You know, is there something wrong with this lady, or
no,
the person?
exactly what is he saying? I don't think that this man said, I wonder what's wrong with this lady.
No, he did. He said, what is wrong? Does she not go, or is she sick, or something? Is there something wrong?
He thought she might be sick. Is that what you're telling
or
me?
else she's injured or something. I mean, she would not go. He honked the horn a couple of times.
So he thought she might be injured. So he ran up to the car and, according to him, said, "Did you get your license from a Cracker Jack box?"
Yes.
He didn't go up to the car and say, "Are you all right?"
No.
So he wasn't so concerned that she was sick, because that's what you would do if somebody is sick. Well, are you an intelligent woman?
Yes, I am.
Did you say to him, "Frank, don't get out of the car. This isn't worth. What are you getting out of the car for?" Did you say that to him?
No.
Why not?
I just figured he'd handle it himself.
Sir.
One important fact that hasn't been brought up yet, this clown, after he assaulted this woman, this clown left the scene.
I was the one that was
He
assaulted,
left the
sir.
scene. He drove away as the police were arriving and went home, I guess, and made the call, because the police got the call because he knew he had screwed up and,
No,
and filed a claim against her, which is totally wrong.
It's so easy when you have an eyewitness who's not related to anybody. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I work in retailing as a business consultant.
Well, first of all, sir, I thank you for coming to court today. Too often citizens who see something happen don't participate in the
I
process.
felt it was my civic duty, ma'am.
You waited for the police?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Stayed through the whole thing. She was
Okay.
traumatized.
Well, I want to tell you something. She may be traumatized, but she's not smart.
Well,
She was just lucky
Yes.
that he didn't have more than his spit
Yeah.
to hurl at her.
Yeah.
Because he might have, and then she would have been in real trouble.
Very true.
So I hope, madam, that you learned a lesson. A car is a dangerous thing. You don't use it to get even. You don't use it to, you just don't do that. It's not smart. But if you're involved in a dispute with somebody, whether you're a man or a woman, you stay in your car. And if you have a phone in your car, terrific. Otherwise, you drive around and look for a police officer or for somebody else and say, "Could you please call 911?" You don't get out of your car, because otherwise you wind up with that sort of injury.
True.
I would like to say I've got pictures. Now, I was the one attacked here, and if your statement is so correct, why don't you state what you really saw as far as the altercation went, to where a man is backing away from a woman and a woman is coming at him aggressively, swinging, kicking, and flailing. Thank you.
Just answer me.
Obviously, this man was filled with road rage. It's very obvious. The way that he pulled in right on, it was so weird.
Does
you see someone pulling in a
have
car?
anything to do with
Excuse me,
physical
I have
abuse?
the floor.
Just a
Excuse
second.
me.
Did you see her assault him?
No, not at all.
Did you see anybody kick a car?
You're at fault here, fella.
Did you see
Listen,
anybody
stop
kick a
fighting
car?
with each other. Listen to me. I heard enough.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're suing him for $5,000. You're counterclaiming for $2,000.
Yes.
You, sir.
Would you like to see the physical abuse? I've got pictures.
Oh, sure. I'll take a look at your
many
pictures.
scratches.
I'll take a look
and
at your pictures.
abrasions.
I'll take a look at your picture, sir. I want to tell you something. Somebody spits at me, and there isn't a question in my mind that you spit at her. Somebody did it to me. You would have had a lot more than a couple of scratches on your body. A lot.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Judgment
If I
in this
had
case is
spit
for the
at-
plaintiff in
if
the
I
amount
had
of
spit at her.
$5,000, and the countersuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I thought it was a domestic case that, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, something like that, get into a fight. And once I saw
Is that how you handle
it was
your
on,
disputes with
this
your
guy
wife?
was, no, of course not. I've never struck a woman in my life, pig.
Neither have I, you slob.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, it's number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Bond versus Wheelock. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Bourne, you were engaged to this gentleman.
Yes, I was.
And have a child together.
Yes.
Now, according to your complaint, you are suing this gentleman because while you were together, you co-signed for a car for him.
Yes.
Big mistake.
Yes, I know.
And when you separated, you took back the car.
Yes, I did. The reason why I took it back was because he was unemployed at the time, and my name is on that insurance and on the car payments.
What about when you separated? You took the car with you initially when you separated.
I took the car the first 2 days, and then her and her mother came over to pick up the car, and I said I would refuse to pay for it if she took it.
That sounds fair.
I took it back because he was unemployed. He didn't make the insurance payments or the car payments that month before because he didn't have a job.
Did you miss a car payment?
No, I did not. No, well, because she was paying most of the time for the
She
car.
was paying it?
Yeah.
For it. Why weren't you paying for it?
Because I'm a bum. Couldn't keep a job for very long, and
Why not?
just had problems.
I mean, that's an interesting comment. Maybe truthful, but you classify yourself as a bum. And you said that with a smile on your face. You think that's right?
No.
Well, Mr. Wheelock, you know, I read your answer, sir. I'll get to the car in a second. I read your answer, sir, and your answer complains of lack of visitation with your son. And you hope that at least I can, in some small measure, resolve the issue of visitation with your son. Why would I want to expose a 2-year-old child to a bum?
Can I tell you that?
Well, you're the child's father. If you can't tell me that, who do you think can?
That I don't deserve to see him.
Then I don't have to entertain your counterclaim.
Okay.
Are you being honest with me, sir?
Yes.
That takes care of that. That's an easy one. Miss Bourne, you have the car.
Yes.
You took the car back shortly after you separated.
Yes.
Then you have to sell it. I don't know what you're complaining about here.
I took it back because he wasn't making the payments. Why should I make the payments when he has the car?
You're absolutely right. You should have sold it immediately.
I've been
Meanwhile,
trying to.
It's been sitting in your garage.
Yes, I've been trying to. In May, a month after we broke up, I put it in an ad. I did not get any responses. I've gone down to 6,000 in another ad. Gotten some calls, but no offers yet. I've been trying my hardest. I don't know what else to do.
Mr. Wheelock, you want to say anything to me? Huh?
About what?
About this whole process.
I think it's a joke.
Why?
Because, I mean, either way, I have nothing to gain or lose.
But do you feel as if you have any responsibility at all towards helping to make up the deficit in what the car will sell for?
Your Honor, I told her that if she gave me the car, I'd be happy to pay for it.
Do you have a job now?
Yes, I do.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents at the current time.
Do you help support your son?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because I haven't been able to.
Well, if you haven't been able to help support your son, how are you going to pay for a car?
I just got this job. I was only making $7 an hour at the other job, and all of it went to rent.
To your parents?
No. I was living with my friends. It's kind of a confusing situation. Moved into my friend's house, and I was paying $450 a month for rent, and that's most of my paycheck.
So that you moved back to your parents' house?
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is a no-win situation. It's really a no-win situation. And I want you to think that there's really a much larger picture here, and the much larger picture here is that you two people, when you were still children, had a baby. Now, I don't know why you, sir, refer to yourself in such derogatory terms. I know you say that with a smile, but I attribute that to nervousness.
Actually, not really. I have a 2-year-old son, and I spend over $450 sleeping on my friend's floor for rent. I'm a bum.
Well, you made some misjudgments in your life. But this child is only going to have one father. Right? And if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I have to straighten up because I have a child. And you never know, it may be the only child you'll ever have. But you're his father. And it's a very bad thing for a child to feel abandoned by a parent.
Yes, I've given him rights to see him. We've set up every Wednesday for him to come see him when he was living with his friends. And half the time he didn't show up. That's one of the reasons why I gave up, because I'd be sitting there waiting for him to show, and he just didn't make the effort to make it.
Why not, Mr. Wheelock?
I didn't want to get into this, but I say this? I've been afraid for myself and for my son every time I'm with her.
Why is that?
Because she's hurt me and she's hurt Brandon when I'm around. That's why we broke up.
How she hurt him?
She's throwing him through the air onto a bed. She threw a can towards him, did not hit him. She left him outside my parents' house when it was raining, and then she drove off, and that was her game. I mean, if it hurt me, that's what she wanted to do.
Did that ever happen?
No.
Your Honor, if we could continue this another day, I can get the 911 tape.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If he feels as if you made no effort to see him, it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 20-year-old Amy Bond is suing her former fiancé, Thomas Wheelock, because she says he stopped making the payments on a car loan which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Just tell me what your side of the story is. I'm a pretty good judge of the truth of things.
She would, for the first 3 months that we split up, she had this attitude that she didn't want Brandon. So she'd always tell me, sending me pager messages, that she didn't want him. And then she'd leave him.
Listen.
And if I can get a letter from my parents, they would tell you that, but they're just afraid they won't be able to see Brandon anymore.
If you made a mistake with each other, put a period at the end of that and say, I have to move on with my life, but this was a mistake. We were 20 years old. 20 years old, you're still babies. You have a child. You have to act responsibly towards the child. If you made a mistake in picking him, and if you made a mistake in picking her as the mother of your child and he is the father of your child, that's not the baby's fault. You, sir, have a responsibility to see your child. And that doesn't mean in a controlled environment. Does he have a drug problem?
No.
He just has a keeping a job problem, right?
And keeping promises. If he says he's going to show up to see his son, I expect him to be there.
Well, when you say see his son, I assume you don't mean seeing him in your home.
No, I go to when he was living with his friends, we went to his parents' house, a mutual place. His parents...
You mean to just drop the child off?
I would stay there.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, Ms. Bond, we're going to talk about that. I mean, I'm not interested in this car. This car is in your possession. You're going to have to sell this car, and if you have a loss and then you want to refile your case about the car, that's your prerogative. But you can't have the car and the money, too. Do you understand?
Yes.
Fine. But let's get back to this baby, because while the car is important, it's not half as important as the two of you and how you're going to interact with this child. Ms. Bond, you just said to me, I don't know why I stay there when he has visitation. You should not be there. You two people clearly don't like each other anymore. I don't think that there's open hostility, perhaps. I don't see that, but there might be. He should have an opportunity, unless there's some reason of drugs, alcohol, some kind of chemical dependency that might place the child at risk, he should have an opportunity to spend time with his child with you not present. He's the father. And maybe if he felt better about himself, taking some responsibility time-wise with his child, maybe he wouldn't think he's such a bum. And you may be, sir, just that. But you have a responsibility when it comes to visiting your child, because that's right for your son. Quite frankly, I don't give two hoots for the two of you. You made the mistake. But by compounding that, it seems to me you're going to hurt this child, because as he gets older, he's going to wonder where his father is. And all he's got to figure is that you made it difficult for his father to see him, then he's going to be angry with you, right?
Yeah.
And if he feels as if you made no effort to see him, he's not only going to be angry with you, but it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me. Think that's fair?
No.
He's the innocent. As young as you are, you did a very grown-up thing by making a baby. And it's your responsibility to see to it that this child does not grow up with a feeling of worthlessness because his own father doesn't want to see him. Take care of it.
Now, what about the loss of the car that I've already incurred already?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Come on! Get it together, Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't, Mel.
Good.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right. You have a $2,000 bill from the time you separated until this time, and I'm going to give you that. But that's all you're getting because you have to either give the car back to him or you have to sell it, and whatever loss there is, it'll be absorbed. At that point, you do not have an anticipatory loss. You have a loss that you can put a number on. I have a $3,000 loss. Now I feel as if you have to contribute to that. But Ms. Bourne, he says that if you give him back the car, he will assume the payments for it. So that's what I think that you should do. Give him back the car. Mr. Wheelock, for a 20-year-old guy to say I'm a bum is a terrible thing. I don't know what kind of upbringing you had, but as a parent, if your parents permitted you to grow up to your age thinking that you're a bum, that they didn't do a terrific job, you better do a better job with your son. Because if you think you're a bum, unless you do something positive right now with a child that's 2 years old, your son will grow up thinking the same thing about himself. Because that's what happens. And that's not fair. You don't seem as if you're a stupid young man. You've done some stupid things. So shape up. And when he has visitation, you don't have to be there. Because that's control. And that's not fair. You're each parents, but you both have to act responsibly. And you better start paying some child support, sir. Now. That's all.
Excuse me, step out. Back up to your ranks.
And now the next case.
Parties on Stevenson versus Bassett. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Melissa Stevenson says her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Grant Bassett, didn't pay her the money she loaned him to purchase a car. Grant claims Melissa was not his girlfriend and the money for the car was a gift.
You two folks were an item, dated, were romantically involved. Do you claim you lent him money for a truck? Is that right?
That is correct.
No. We were not romantically involved. Or
just a second. She claims that you were romantically involved as a couple and she lent you money for a truck which you bought. You say she gave you an old truck of hers and it was a loan.
Yes, ma'am.
And it got towed.
Yes, ma'am.
So, those are two diametrically opposed stories. Let's hear about it, Miss Stevenson.
Grant and I were friends and dating for 4 months. Grant had decided to take a job out of state in Arizona, and I was all for him doing that because it was a career advancement, and he did not have a vehicle, so he had no way of getting there. So we had batted back and forth the idea of me loaning him the money to purchase a truck. And he looked through the Auto Trader and he found what he wanted. And I came down with a Visa check, you know how you can draw money off your account, and we were gonna go purchase this truck. What happened is they wouldn't take the check, they wanted cash, so I went in, got a cash advance off my credit card for $3,500, and we purchased the truck.
Go ahead.
So Grant leaves for Arizona, takes the truck with him, and we had a verbal agreement that he would make double payments on whatever my minimum balance was on the credit card. So first month goes by, I get a couple checks in the mail. I was, oh great, I can pay my payment. I was happy about that. And the next month rolls by, we talked on the phone, and I said, are you gonna send me some money this month? And he was having trouble paying his bills, and he stopped sending me any money. Pretty much every month I called him, send me $50, send me something so I can pay my credit card bill. I'm a struggling student trying to pay my bills here too. Nothing came of that. No money was sent. I kept on him, and
that's it. That's where we are right now.
Basically, yes.
All right, Mr. Bassett.
Okay. What happened is I left for Arizona, and Melissa had a truck, so she lent me her truck because I was going to move out of state. I did not want to purchase another vehicle in California and have to move to Arizona, reside, have to pay the registration fees. So my first 2 weeks in the academy, I bought a vehicle. So her vehicle sat at the apartment that me and my partner were sharing, and it wasn't registered in either one of our names. We could not re-register it. They couldn't pass smog. The axles were bent, so it got towed away.
Mr. Bassett, you just told me a story that is totally different from hers. You understand
Yes, Your
that?
Honor. I was never there during the transaction. I don't know where she got the money. I don't know where she got the vehicle.
Can I see your transactions, please?
Sure. Your Honor, I have some other things that will help verify my story. Grant was about to move back from Arizona, and I called him up. I said, listen, you know, we're friends. Why would you do this to me? I want some proof that you're going to pay me back when you can. And I said, would you be willing to sign a contract stating you owe me the money? And he said, yeah, you know, I'm your friend. I'll do that. I just jotted down that he did owe me the money, that he had given me a payment already on it, and that he would have to pay. You know, I was getting really frustrated by this time. I had been paying on it for over a year and paying interest, 18% on my credit card. That's ridiculous.
Show him this, please. Ask him. Mr. Bassett, is that your signature on that loan agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. And if you notice, their coincidence just happened to be on my birthday.
Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah.
Is that your signature?
Exactly. I was happy birthday.
I didn't know
yeah.
it was his birthday.
You signed that?
Yes.
So?
So she showed up on my birthday. All my friends were there, so I decided just to get her out of there.
Get out of here. Give this to me.
Your Honor?
Get out, just a second. Am I correct that you went to Arizona in order to become a police officer?
Yes, that's correct.
Corrections officer in a jail.
Just a
State.
second. Being a corrections officer, similar as far as I'm concerned to being a police officer.
Yes, ma'am. We can't.
Supposed to be able to rely on what you say to me, Mr. Bassett. You don't sign something like this and then come and tell me this grandma story that it was your birthday and you just signed anything. Come on. Get it
did, Your
together,
Honor.
Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Balance of the loan is how much, madam?
About a little over $4,900.
All right. Let me tell you what I have, sir. Let me tell you what proof I have today. Aside from just hearing these two stories, which, you know, could be written from two different novels, I have proof that she withdrew the money from the bank. I have the fact that there was a car or a truck. And I have a signed statement from you with a signature that I have compared to your signature on your answer, and also you acknowledge that you signed that you owe her the money. That's the proof I have. Right?
Yes.
Stands up to me. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He never came up with a car or the money, so he must have gotten a new vehicle with my truck.
Salesman from Fullerton, California. Jim's son Ty says that while driving his father's new Ford Explorer, Gary's son Jared was horsing around with the four-wheel drive controls and caused $1,300 in damages to the truck.
Order, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 127 on the calendar in the matter of Nowell versus West. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Mr. Nowell, you are the owner of a four-wheel drive truck kind of car.
Ford Explorer.
According to your complaint, your 16-year-old son, that's you, sit up, was driving this four-wheel drive truck, and the defendant's son, that's you, was you sit down.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Was a passenger in the front seat. According to your complaint, this young man damaged your car by pressing some sort of a button.
To change it from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive while the car was in motion. Truck was in motion, yeah.
And you say that because of that, there was damage to the car, $1,300 worth.
Yeah, it was in perfect working condition until the boys went for a 15-minute ride to the Del Taco.
Okay. You weren't in the car.
No.
Now up. What's your name?
Kai.
How long have you been driving?
About 2 months.
How long were you driving at the time that you had this young man as a passenger?
A couple days.
Days.
Yeah.
Who else was in the car other than the two of you?
Those two guys, Jeff and Chris.
So there were 4 of you all together.
Right.
So tell me what happened. You get in the car and your friends get in the car and you decide to take a little spin.
We were going to Del Taco to get dinner, and we were just, driving, and Jared decided he wanted to push the four-wheel drive button. So he kept hitting it, and I asked him to stop, and I told him to stop, and I slapped his hand away and tried to make him stop, but he's bigger than me, and I was trying to drive and do it at the same time, so.
Why didn't you stop the car?
Because I thought he was, I don't know.
Did you have any sense that that would damage the car?
I thought it would do it if he did it enough, but I didn't think it would do that much damage.
You wanted to say something, sir?
Yeah, basically, his friend was in the back seat, and he's not a friend with the defendant, Jared West. And so there's a little intimidation. It's a new group of friends. He was trying to be in that thing. So he didn't just stop. He came home to us and told us when it happened, and that's the first thing he said to us was how disappointed he was that he let us down. He said I should have stopped the vehicle and just kicked him out. That's what he told us, and he was crying.
Right.
He was crying. He knew he didn't do the right thing.
Okay.
But he tried to do the right thing, but he didn't stop the car.
Your name?
Jared West, Your Honor.
So you're driving as a passenger in this car?
Yes, I was.
Do you drive?
Yes.
What kind of a car do you drive?
1993 Pontiac Trans Am.
What were you fooling around with the buttons for?
Well, what he forgot to mention was that on the way to Del Taco, he stopped off and he was driving through a grassy knoll and hopped a couple curbs and stuff. And I figured since he was going over a grassy knoll.
Going over a grassy knoll.
Yeah,
what does that look like?
There was like a park type area behind a Save-On drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
And he had jumped over a curb and went onto the grass. And I figured since he was going on the grass and stuff that he might want to be on four-wheel drive. And then he said he didn't want to, he didn't want me to do it. And then I'm sorry to say, it sort of turned into a game after that. And I shouldn't have done it. I realize that.
Don't put your hands up, sir. You weren't there. Did you go over a grassy knoll and go over some curbs when you were driving this car?
Yes.
Why'd you do that for?
I just made a mistake.
So it sounds to me as if both of you boys were acting irresponsibly with this car. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, I agree.
Well, Mr. Knoll, this isn't a very, very difficult situation, sir. Some damage was caused to your car. I assume you have the bills to show me what the damage was. Is that right?
Yes, the car is in
Mr.
perfect
West, I
working
don't even need to
condition,
speak to you.
Yes, you do.
Well, just a second. Okay. The reason I don't need to speak to you, sir, is because you originally, according to these papers that I received, spoke to Mr. Knoll, and at that time you said to him, pretty much, that both boys were wrong, and that you were prepared to pay for half the damage that was caused to the car.
I did some brief investigation before I made that offer. After they declined my offer, I had to do some further investigations, which I can show the court now, which show that what my son did not cause damage to that car.
Oh, well, I'd like to hear that, sir.
Here's a copy of the Ford Motor Company manual. And in the Ford Motor Company manual, if I may read it,
sure.
It says to you, it says, the spin on the transmission transverse case on this 1991 Ford Explorer allows the shift between second high and four-wheel high to be made at any vehicle speed. Your Honor, once the car is engaged in four-wheel drive, the way you disengage this car from four-wheel drive is to back the car up in reverse. So by pressing the vehicle four-wheel drive button once, twice, or many times, it doesn't disengage from four-wheel drive until you back the car up. And that's how it disengages. So once he pressed it one time, it was in four-wheel drive, and it continued four-wheel drive until they later came to
jack-in-the-box. At that point, they backed up and they heard a ratcheting type sound from the vehicle. That's when it was coming out of four-wheel drive.
Can I see the estimates that you have, please?
May I say something else, Your Honor?
Sure.
Chris is here to identify or to be witness to the fact that Ty has taken this vehicle to different parking lot locations, jumping curbs and parking barriers that he failed to mention to his dad also.
Mr. West, I wasn't there. You weren't there.
Correct.
This young man did something wrong. He's acknowledged that he did something wrong. Your son acknowledged that he did something wrong. They both did something wrong because they were playing around with a very expensive piece of equipment that neither one of them bought or paid for, belonged to the plaintiff. Now, your mistake, Mr. Knoll, was that when you write here, the defendant offered a 50% settlement, which we rejected as a matter of principle since we didn't contribute in any way to the damage. That was a mistake. Your son contributed to the damage. He contributed to the damage in either one of two ways. Either because he, in fact, drove the car recklessly, and or he did not, at the moment that this young man decided to push the buttons on the car that he knew was wrong, he didn't take care of this expensive piece of property the way he should have, which was to stop the car and say, get out of the car. There's nothing to say. Anything that you say, sir, is going to be an excuse, which is wrong.
No, it's the truth. You're listening to some here, and I can't allow that to
Just
happen.
Mr. Knoll,
I just need to have my say, that's all.
I'm not listening to anything. I'm not listening to what Ford Motor Company says, sir. I'm listening to what these two young men said.
Well,
and both of these boys seem to acknowledge that when they took your car out, they both did the wrong thing.
There's some lies over here, though. You haven't allowed him to speak what he saw.
Just a second. I listened to him. Let me tell you what he said, Mr. Knoll.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
If you buy them on the black market, you run the risk of getting tickets that are bogus. Now you know that, right?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jim Knoll says his 16-year-old son Ty was driving his 1991 Ford Explorer when Gary West's son Jared unexpectedly threw the truck into four-wheel drive, causing $1,300 worth of damage. Gary says he doesn't believe what Jared did could have caused that kind of damage and refuses to pay for the repairs.
He said, one, he drove the car over grassy knolls, up and down curbs, and he knew that was wrong.
No, one curb.
You weren't there, sir. You better stop making excuses for your son. He seems like a very honest young man. You
So
keep
am I.
making excuses for him, and I guarantee you, you're teaching him a very bad lesson. He's standing here, he's being truthful.
So am I.
No, you're not, because
Yeah.
you weren't there. You're making excuses. And if you were savvy and know what was going on, how many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
25, 16.
25-year-olds, a boy or a girl?
Girl.
Now you have a 16-year-old son. 16-year-old boys, when they're given a hot car, react differently than 16-year-old girls. So this is your first experience with a teenage son, right? Trust me, I've had 3 teenage sons. They all act like they're 4 years old, especially when they're in a car for the first time. 2 days he's had a license so that he could drive by himself. 2 days, and you give him your car. Stop making excuses for him, Mr. Knoll. The first, put your paper down, sir. Your son did the wrong thing. Without a 2-day trial with experts from Ford Motor Company and without mechanics here who were able to testify as to what the actual damage was and based upon their expertise what caused it, I have to rely on my sense of common sense. And don't say a word. And my sense of common sense is that your son did the wrong thing and that his son did the wrong thing. And the only one who's getting stuck is him, because it's his car and he's got to pay the damage. So the damage to the car, and I am let me just take a look through the rest of these things. Okay. The total damage to the car is $1,248. And sir, I am awarding you $624, which is 1/2 the cost of the damage. Because I believe that both of these young men contributed to this damage. Both of them did the wrong thing with your precious piece of metal. and next time you won't do it. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
What my son did no damage to his car. I have nothing to say to this man. I don't care to shake your hand. I think you're a jerk.
Okay.
And now the next case.
Parties on Shank versus Beckman. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Troy Shank bought Metallica tickets from 26-year-old Robert Beckman. Troy didn't have the cash, so he gave Robert a guitar for collateral. Now Troy claims the tickets were bogus and wants his guitar back.
Mr. Shank, you wanted to see a concert.
Yes.
What concert was it?
It was a Metallica concert.
A what?
Metallica.
Metallica. What is
ma'am.
that?
It's a group. Heavy metal band.
Why did you want to see that?
I like them.
According to your complaint, sir, the defendant here had some tickets for this Metallica
Yes.
concert. You wanted 3 tickets,
Yes.
but you didn't have any money.
Correct.
So you gave him a guitar as collateral for the
Correct.
tickets. What was the purchase price that you agreed on for the tickets?
$50 a piece. I wanted 3, so $150.
And you gave him the guitar.
Correct.
What happened?
It turned out later that the...
You went to the concert.
Yes.
What happened when you got there?
We went to the front. We showed them our passes and stuff, and they said that they were counterfeit, and they questioned us thoroughly where we got them, blah, blah, blah. They took the tickets from us and didn't let us in. They kicked us out.
That was when you went to present them to the ticket taker.
Correct.
So you asked him for the guitar back.
No, after that night, I came home and paged Robert, and he never called me. I paged him lots of times for a numerous of probably 6 months, and he never called me back.
Yes.
Do you want to hear my side now? Okay, what it was is I gave him these tickets and he gave me the guitar as collateral.
I understand that.
he
Let's
did not-
go back a little further. Where did you get the tickets from?
I purchased them off of a student at Saddleback College.
And what did you pay for the tickets?
I paid $100 a piece for them. And then he wasn't supposed to owe me $150. He's supposed to owe me $350. The problem was he was supposed to be a week before the concert. After the concert, I finally get this letter of court. He calls me and says, well, do you have any, like a VCR or TV or anything you can give me as collateral? I said, why? You know, you didn't, how do I know you didn't get into the show? I got on the show, my girlfriend got on the show, my brother got on the show. How do I know you did not get in?
You may have had somebody who let you in and wasn't looking carefully. They didn't. They had a problem.
I don't understand. I don't understand how they could have a problem.
They had a problem, sir.
Out of all the people that I know that went, everyone got in but them.
When you buy tickets from the concert itself, when you go up to the gate and give them money and buy tickets, then you know you're getting legitimate tickets. If you buy them on the black market, which is from somebody at school, you run the risk of getting tickets that are bogus. Now you know that, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not sure yet. A lawyer.
I would suggest you not decide on the ministry, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Troy Shank claims the concert tickets he got from Robert Beckman were counterfeit. He wants the replacement value of a guitar he gave him for collateral.
I believe the fact that you didn't get in with these tickets, and the law is very clear. You had a contract. You were going to pay the money to go to the concert.
Correct.
That's your contract. They didn't get into the concert, and therefore they got nothing in return for their money or their guitar. So you have to give them back the guitar. Do you understand?
I don't have the guitar anymore.
Why not?
I sold it for the money that they owed me.
They didn't owe you any money.
Well,
Let me see the receipt.
I don't have the receipt.
You don't have the receipt, you don't have the guitar. When did you sell the guitar?
Probably about a month after the concert.
But they buzzed you, they paged you immediately.
Well, that night I did not have my pager on me. I'd never take my pager to a concert. So I mean, how would I return it?
You got as many excuses as Carter has pills, sir. I don't want to tell you, unless you straighten out, this isn't the last court you're going to be in. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do. But the agreement was he was supposed to pay me a week before the concert. He did not pay me my money a week before the concert.
Well, let us assume.
So
let me
even if
tell
it
you.
wasn't, I mean,
let me tell you why, Mr. Beckman. You're standing there and I'm sitting here. Let me explain why. If I believed your story that the concert tickets were more than what they claim, and if they paged you, you would have called them back lickety-split because you would have thought to yourself, he's calling to make arrangements to pay me the money that he owes me. That's what would have gone on in my head if somebody owed me money. I better answer this page right away because I want to get my money. You, however, didn't have a page. You lost your page. You were busy. It was raining. It was snowing. A whole bunch of other excuses why you didn't return his page. And the truth of the matter is, you knew that there was trouble. Because there's no other reason for you not to have returned this page. All right. So you're guilty as charged. Now, the next question I have is, this bill for $1,000 for a guitar seems to me inflated. So let's talk about it.
Okay. The guitar...
How much did you pay for the guitar, and when?
I paid $748 for it.
Let me see the bill.
I do not have the receipt. My mom is here to testify. She's the one who bought it.
Fine. I'd like to hear from her. You, sit down. Could you step up, please?
I have a...
Don't give me a. You have a mother.
Okay.
Mothers, I believe. Tell me your name.
Hi, I'm Anita Shank, Troy's mother.
Did you purchase this guitar?
Yes, I did.
And when did you purchase it for him?
In '95.
How much did you pay for it?
Approximately $800.
He says $748. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Fine. Okay. You look like a nice young man who may have a bright future. Don't try to be a shortcut artist.
Well,
it never pays off, sir.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Sure.
Okay. When I gave him the guitar, it was in a guitar case, and inside that case was a guitar tuner, a guitar pedal, and a metronome, which I have the retail value, and that's why I sued for $1,000. It came over all that stuff that I gave him.
Why did you give him all that stuff?
The guitar was in a guitar case, and the guitar case has like a little pouch. I just keep my guitar stuff in there, and that was the only thing worth value. I just gave him the whole set. So that's why I'm suing for $1,000.
Did it have all of that equipment in it?
I don't know.
What?
I didn't even bother to look in it.
Oh.
I mean, it was just collateral for the tickets, you know?
That's why I was suing
No,
for
I
$1,000.
understand it was collateral for the tickets, but again, you want me to believe that somebody gave you collateral, you sold it, and when you sold it, you didn't open up the case, didn't show it to anybody.
I looked in it. I mean, it just had like the strap for the guitar and, you know, little whammy things for the guitar and stuff like that.
Do you go to school?
Yes, I do.
College?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, what is
yes? Yes, Your Honor.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not sure yet. A lawyer.
I would suggest you not decide on the ministry, sir. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. In her car, while Albert was driving, his new fiancée, Sharitha Cornell, smashed into it, but she denies it.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. Your Honor, it's number 147 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Cornell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Are you Albert?
Ma'am.
Didn't you know you were coming to court today?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you wearing shorts for?
I thought it was, I'm saying it was gonna be nice.
All right, Miss Smith.
Yes.
Albert over here, the one in the shorts, is the father of your daughter.
Yes.
And you're engaged to him now.
Right.
According to your complaint, you lent Albert your car.
Yes, I did.
And she hit your car.
Yes, she did.
You weren't in the car.
No.
She was in the car.
In her car.
And you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Objection, because she I want to make a point that I have the statements from the officer that she gave her complaint to. She said that she was in the car, she was driving when this happened.
Okay, but she wasn't.
And she
was not in the car.
Albert. Stand up here. You want to stand on that side? Shh.
Order.
Tell me what happened when you borrowed her car.
I bought a car, then I had a St. Cornell on Grand. So I had got out the car, I had parked her car in the front of her car.
You parked her car in front of her car.
Right. Then I had
Yes.
just put her car in reverse and backed up into her car.
Just a minute.
Why you lying?
Miss Smith, I don't want you to say anything. I'm in charge here. Let me be in charge. I like being in charge. Get up here, Albert. Right up here. Shh. You borrowed her car. You saw her driving in her car. So far, am I right?
Yes.
Was her car parked or moving when you saw it?
Parked.
Was she in it?
No. She was in the store.
So what did you do?
I had one of my friends that told me they had seen her in her car. Then it was another guy driving that car. So I helped her buy the car that.
Don't tell me what your friend told me. You were annoyed.
Right. And I bagged up into her car with her car.
So you're telling me her car was parked?
Yes.
Your fiancée.
Yes.
And you pulled in front of the car, pulled into a parking space, and backed into it.
Yes.
That was pretty stupid. Wasn't it?
Yes.
Why would you do such a stupid thing?
Because I was mad because it was another guy driving her car.
Mm-hmm. Are you back together again now?
No, we together.
With her?
Yes.
You with the defendant, Miss Cornell?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I gather you straightened it all out.
Mm-hmm.
That is a yes or a no?
Yes.
Uh-huh. How many times did you back her car into her car?
About twice.
Did you cause some damage to her car?
Yes.
How much damage?
I don't know how much damage was.
What do you do for a living?
I do the odds and ends.
What kind of odds and ends?
Paint, cut grass.
For cash?
Yes.
Hmm. Just you stay right there. What kind of car do you have?
A 92 Chevy Cavalier.
And you?
A 90 Chevy Cavalier.
Did you have your car fixed?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Now, Miss Smith, do you have any objection to my adding Albert here as a co-defendant in your lawsuit?
No.
You know what that means?
No.
That means that I'm adding you as a co-defendant in this lawsuit, sir. That means that since you have just acknowledged to me that you caused the damage to the car, right?
Yes.
You should pay for it. Why are you looking at me with that blank stare, sir? What words didn't you understand that I said? You understand what I'm talking about? Yeah. Because, Miss Smith, quite frankly, since they're back together again, I'm not going to get the truth out of him.
That's right.
Probably won't get the truth out of her.
Sure won't.
Because she was in a store.
I have a police report that she gave, since you won't get the truth out of me. She gave to the police an hour and something later after the accident. Her lie, since you can't get the truth out of me.
Miss Cornell, you don't understand, madam. Something is not getting through in your head. She wasn't in the car.
She said she was.
But you know she wasn't.
Okay, but she said she was.
What does that have to do with the damage to her car?
It has a lot to do with it. It has a whole lot to do with it. At the time of the accident, they were engaged. This was his fiance at the time of the accident. They had been broken up for 9 years prior
Just
to
do me a favor.
that.
Could you be quiet?
Yes, I can. Y'all surely can.
Step down over there next to
I
your
surely
fiance.
can be quiet. I surely can.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to change the story? Huh? It's not an answer. Hey, quiet.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Curtis Dean Smith says she loaned her ex-fiancé, Albert Johnson, her car. While Albert was driving, his new fiancée, Sharitha Cornell, smashed into it.
Can I see the estimate for the car, please?
Okay, spread it out.
The estimate for the car is $1,562. Is that right?
That's without it being painted. That's just to pull the dent out the trunk and the side and fix the bumper.
It ain't even no dent in her trunk.
Have you been in my trunk?
It's not even a dent.
Have you been in my trunk?
Shh. What's all this other stuff here?
That's to fix the car and to paint it.
You have insurance on this car?
Yes, I do.
How much did you get from your insurance for this?
At the present moment, when the car was hit, there wasn't any insurance on the car.
What? Excuse me?
Yes. I had dropped the insurance 2 months before the accident happened.
I see. So the insurance doesn't become effective until the 16th of May, and this accident occurred on May 4th. Is that right?
That's right.
And you had no insurance on the car prior to this?
That's right.
Okay. Albert! You better do a lot more odd jobs, sir. Because you owe her for the damage that was done to her car. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good. Now, Miss Cornell, you have a counterclaim. For what?
Because she lied and told the police that I hit her car while she was driving the car and he was in the car. The officer contacted me and told me what she had said. Told me that I would be arrested for first-degree assault because there was assault on her and she was pressing charges. Of course, I got very angry. I got stressed out. I had to be hospitalized due to that. You know, her lying. You know, and me finding out that I was going to have to go to jail. I also was jailed. I had to pay for someone to keep my children due to her lies.
Just a second. You were jailed when, madam?
I was jailed on the 20th of May.
Let me see the papers to prove that.
And then right after that, 3 days later, she called me looking for Albert because he supposedly ran off with her car again.
What does
and
that have
she
to do
had
with
him
this?
locked up. She had
does
him
that have
locked
to
up
do
for
with
running
this?
off in her car. I'm not
Listen,
talking to you
listen.
because you're
Talking to
not
you.
the
Hey,
judge.
listen.
Excuse me, Judge Judy.
I can't listen.
I apologize.
Just a second.
apologize,
Just
Your
a
Honor.
second. You told the police that you were in the car.
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
When Albert had called me and told me that Sharitha had hit my car, I told him to call the police. Albert said he had a warrant on him for his arrest, so I told him to bring me my car. And we went down to the police station and made a report, and I said I was the driver. I also went back.
So you lied to the police?
Yes, I did.
Well,
You were also asked by the police whether or not you wish to press charges against her.
And I said, yes, I did, because she hit my car.
But not only did she hit your car with you in it and then took off. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
That caused her to be arrested. Do you know that?
Yes. But I also went back to the police station, tried to change the report, and I couldn't locate the officer, so I talked to his supervisor, and he said, just tell the judge that.
Well, by the time you got to tell the judge, she had already been arrested. How long did you spend in jail?
A day, Your Honor, a whole night.
That was the wrong thing to do. You understand that?
Yes.
You're suing her for $1,250, is that right?
That is.
All right, not a difficult case. Albert, you are going to pay her, the plaintiff, $2,604, because that's what you said you caused in damage to her car. She doesn't have to pay for that if you're covering up for her, and if she actually hit the car and you're covering for her, then it's going to cost you $2,600. You understand me? You want to change the story? Huh?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know you feel like crying.
State hospital, that's where she belongs.
Yeah,
you see
you
what
know
I'm saying?
what? That's where you belong.
And later today,
Are you thick or what? There is a difference between your brother giving you a gift and a 17-year-old who you know has a crush on you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Albert Johnson borrowed his ex-fiancée, Curtis Dean Smith's car. She says that while he was driving, his current fiancée, Sharitha Cornell, ran into it.
You want to change the story?
No. No.
Okay. On the other hand, madam, it's going to cost you $1,250 because that's what she's suing for. You filed a false report. You two folks together?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Well, then this makes it easy. You're only going to get $1,444 for your car. Do you understand that?
Why is that?
That's because I am deducting the $1,250.
Cool with me.
Cool with you?
Cool with me.
Perfect. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,444. I have deducted what you owe her for filing this false claim because this
Thank
two
you,
lovely
Your
couple,
Honor.
this lovely couple is now together. I'm
That's
treating them
right.
as a couple.
And I'm going to send you an invitation to our wedding.
All these ice cream, step out, please.
Make sure I put that in my date book.
She don't need that money to fix her car. She need that money to buy her a man.
And now the next case.
Parties on Gibbs versus Edwards. Step forward, please.
17-year-old supermarket clerk Noelle Gibbs and her father Stanley Gibbs are suing 21-year-old Alex Edwards for the shoes she bought him. Alex says Noelle had a crush on him and the shoes were a gift.
Mr. Gibbs, why don't you tell me, sir, why you are suing this gentleman for $140.70?
Yes, Your Honor. My daughter is under the age of 18. She's 17 years old.
That's you.
This is Noelle. And so I originally filed a suit at Litem as a guardian, being that she's underage. So the reason...
What is this for, sir?
The suit is for a pair of shoes that was purchased by my daughter from Sport Chalet in Valencia store for Mr. Edwards as a loan.
Why did you purchase a pair of shoes for him, Noelle?
He was hinting around that he needed a pair of shoes.
Where do you know him from?
He works at the store right next to where I work. I work at Thrifty's, he works at Vons.
Are you friends?
Well, yeah.
No.
We were friends, yes, we were.
Order.
He hinted around that he didn't have the money for the shoes and that he had them on hold at Sport Chalet. And I said, well, I could loan you the money, you know, and you could pay me back. And he said, first he said no, then the next day he goes, okay, and yes, he would. I can go get the shoes for him.
Is that what happened, sir?
No.
Well, let me hear what happened.
She's been harassing me she's had this high school crush for about 9 months. I made up every excuse in the world not to go out with her. She buys me some shoes. Right after she hands me the shoes, my witness is right here. She says, will you go out with me? I said, no. I said, I only have $4. Then she goes, I'll pay. I don't like her. I've never been her friend. I don't go by and see her. She comes by and sees me. I don't bother her.
Are those the shoes?
Yeah. Here.
Just a
No,
second.
they're not. Those are not the shoes.
Those are not the
No,
shoes?
they're not.
Hand them back.
Just a second. She bought your shoes.
These are the ones I got in the box.
Are they your size?
Yes.
How did she know your size?
I think she asked me, actually. Yeah.
Well, tell me the circumstances surrounding her asking you about your shoe size.
She's always asked me if I'd go out with her. She finally got her truck back from her dad. So I said no, because I'm saving up for some shoes. She said, what if I buy you the shoes? Can we go out? I said, well, I'll think about it. So I did get the shoes. And I thought about it and I said no.
Just a minute. You still didn't tell me how she got your shoe size.
I didn't think she would get the shoes, so I said, yeah, I wear size 11 if you want to go get them. The ones I want are Sports Chalet.
Okay.
She comes to my job with the shoes.
Okay.
I really didn't think she would get it. I thought it was just like a joke. I didn't think she would really do it.
Okay.
And then,
Did you agree to pay her back for the shoes?
No.
He didn't agree to pay you back for the shoes.
Yes, he did.
Well, there's no question. He got the shoes. The only question is, were they a gift or were they a loan?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Do you, sir, make it clear to me that you have no interest romantically in this young lady? Is that right?
I'm not her friend. I'm not nothing.
Just
I never
listen.
liked her nothing.
Hey.
Okay,
Right?
yes.
By accepting a gift from her, assuming it was a gift, you are encouraging her. Do you understand that? Oh yeah, what does that mean?
You know, that's
Do you
a conversation.
Hey, do you understand that, Mr. Edwards?
Yes, okay.
And that's unfair. By accepting a gift, you did the wrong thing. Right?
I don't think so. Not really. I mean,
then I'm going to
If my
have to-
brother gave me
I'm-
a gift, then do I owe him also?
Excuse me, who gave you a gift?
If my brother gives me a gift, I can't stop her from doing. I can stop
are you
that.
thick or what? Are you thick or what? There is a difference between your brother giving you a gift and
I
a
never let her-
17-year-old.
I've told her many
Hey, you're
times.
talking over me, and I have a bad throat
Okay,
today.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's a difference between your brother giving you a gift and a 17-year-old who you know has a crush on you. You encouraged her, even by your own statement when you said to me, she told you, well, if I buy you the shoes, will you go out with me? That's what you told me,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And instead of you saying, absolutely not, you said, we'll see. Maybe. Isn't that what you just told me, sir?
Yes, yes.
So you encouraged her. A, that's cruel. B, by taking a gift, you made it not only cruel, but there's a certain insensitivity there and greediness that I don't like. So you are going to pay her $140.70. You have the receipt for the
I do.
shoes? Is that what the bill was?
Yes. It's,
$140.70. Got it? Good. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She was
I
trying
did
to
not
buy me.
ask
She
him
should
to
have went and
go out
got
with
a
me.
prostitute.
No,
If
I
she
did
wanted
not.
all that, she could have got
Excuse me?
herself a prostitute. If I buy you the shoes, will you go out with me?
I did
That's
not
what you said.
say
That's
that.
What, they put this kind of effort into a Stairmaster,
did
they would be
not.
fine.
सबसे पहले आप यहाँ पर ये देख सकते हैं कि आपको एक एड वॉच करने के 20 रुपए दिए जा रहे हैं। आपने सिंपली व्यू एड के ऊपर क्लिक करना है, 20 रुपए आपके अकाउंट में आ जाएंगे। विड्रॉ की बात की जाए तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि इजी सबसे पहले आप यहां पर ये देख सकते हैं कि आपको एक एड वॉच करने के 20 रुपए दिए जा रहे हैं। आपने सिंपली व्यू एड के ऊपर क्लिक करना है, 20 रुपए आपके अकाउंट में आ जाएंगे। विड्रॉ की बात की जाए तो यहां पर आप देख सकते हैं कि इजी सबसे पहले आप यहाँ पर ये देख सकते हैं कि आपको एक एड वॉच करने के 20 रुपए दिए जा रहे हैं। आपने सिंपली व्यू एड के ऊपर क्लिक करना है, 20 रुपए आपके अकाउंट में आ जाएंगे। विड्रॉ की बात की जाए तो यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि इजी